The road to the temple was decorated with huge statues and was unrestrained by young men who gathered for an important ceremony. In this world, every child, having reached the age of 12, receives his gift in the temple. The ceremony itself was held by the main priestess, full of celebration. She gave her children the parchment, a symbol of their further fate. Most often the children received combat talents because at first God himself gave people power so that they could fight the demons. However, the monsters have now lost their threat, and more children have received gifts for the development of civilization. Ravel believed that he would get something really useful. His girlfriend Anna considered Ravel very smart, though the guy just loved to know the new one. Finally, his cue came to the priest. Anna was ahead of him and received one of the most rare gifts, which surprised the audience. She seemed gentle and fragile, but was a real warrior. One of the nuns invited her to the back room for conversation. Then Ravel's turn. But instead of the expected powerful gift, he received a mysterious talent: hard work, which he had never heard before. All the children began to laugh, and Ravel himself was confused. He did not understand how to use such a strange gift. One of the boys, named Carlo, began to smile and humiliate Ravel, calling him the talent with the most unnecessary talent. Carlo himself received the gift of a sword master, and immediately decided that he would become a legendary warrior. He called himself the chosen of the gods, and dreamed of going through a real night, swaying his advantage to Ravel. After the ceremony, Ravel and Anna returned to the village. The guy wondered what she was talking about with the priestess in the room, but the girl reported that she did not hear the question. After getting home, they decided to eat something delicious. Ravel asked his mother to make her own permission to prepare something in the kitchen, and she gladly agreed. Ravel quickly prepared sweet pancakes. They looked appetizing, and they tasted even better. Anna was delighted with the treat, but suddenly the girl got bored. She confessed to the best friend that she would soon leave this place, because after receiving the gift, everything changed. Ravel guessed Anna would be taken to the Heroes' Academy, the most prestigious in all Tyria. It is there that the young gifted ones hone their abilities. The academy raises real defenders of the kingdom, so the ceremony is always present temple guards who are closely watching each gift. Their main task is to prevent the escape of children with the most rare talents such as Anna. Ravella was oppressed, so he asked, "What does she really want?" Anna sighed. With such a courageous and powerful gift, she had only to accept fate. There was no choice. She said she should be proud of such a gift rather than inventing nonsense. But her excitement grew into emotions. The girl got up and left. Ravel's father was surprised by Anna's behavior. But when she learned that she was the owner of the talent of the Dragon Knight, everything became clear. The girl would become the hero of the king. However, he was even more surprised by the gift of his own son. Unlike her father, his mother believed that hard work describes Ravella perfectly. Even ordinary pancakes he made incredible. The guy really made an effort to please Anna, which is why pancakes came out so tender and delicious. He thought about his mother's words. Mom explained, "Talents are a real mystery." Her own bakery gift seemed like a little thing until she opened a shop in the capital and succeeded. The father added, "From now on it will return late, ahead of the battle before God, where children with combat talents will compete. Even the supreme priest will come to this performance." So the chief chef ordered, "Every little thing should be perfect. It's time to roll the conversation." Ravel reacted nervously to all these stories, and his parents did not understand that he was in his head. In fact, the guy was disturbed by his unknown gift, which even the priests did not hear. Then he decided he will prove his value, join the Heroes' Academy, and remain near Anna, despite everything. In fact, Ravel remained very little time before the battle before God, and he did not imagine how best to manifest himself. Mom's words about the mystery of talents did not leave their head. It was clear. Hard work is exactly not the power that he would like to have to solve problems. Therefore, you need to urgently learn about this strange ability. Ravel dreamed of the gift of wisdom or power, those that went beyond the ordinary. They could only be obtained in two ways: through battles or difficult tasks. The gift of wisdom gives the user access to a variety of knowledge, though not hidden information. Knowing everything is not to understand the main thing yet, and after all, it is just knowledge that is easy to brag, but difficult to apply. Therefore, Ravel no longer sought this gift. Now the main thing is to understand how his hard work works. Other talents developed themselves, and this one required real efforts without any bonus. It is unfortunate that no award was given for effort. It was interesting to find out what the owners of this talent in the past achieved. But Ravel did not lose hope. All talents can be compared to magic. It is easy to get, having a gift of wisdom. But in fact, everything is much more complicated. Ravel realized that because of the lack of magic, it could not use it effectively. However, there was a way to increase it. It was enough to imagine power in the body and try to release it. As soon as he tried, he felt a terrible pain that he had broken consciousness. The pain was so unbearable that even an adult would not withstand. It turned out, without the gift of magic, it is almost impossible to use it. But swallowed his teeth, he decided to finish the matter and develop his magical power at any cost. He exhausted his body again and again, restored magic, not noticing how hours pass. This test was on the verge of death, and in the end, he could no longer spell. But the effort has not been in vain. Saville has gained the skill of super recovery of magic energy. It inspired him. He did not even hope for such a result. Due to the new ability, the speed of recovery of magic has increased many times over. To receive this gift, it was necessary to completely exhaust the energy and restore it 10 times in a row. Earlier, Ravel acquired many skills because of wisdom, but this has not happened yet. Now he considered how to strengthen himself. The muscle strength skill gave a temporary increase in endurance. To get it, it was necessary to completely exhaust magic and exercise. It was found that the conditions of skills differ in everyone, so everyone has to understand how to develop. Ravel thought deeply and realized that this is the essence of hard work, to collect power that eventually turns into abilities. And with this knowledge, he will be able to defeat anyone. The next day, the guy devoted himself to training and gained 3 skills: muscle reinforcement, magic control, and body strengthening. His life changed in just a day. After resting, Saville decided to test his new skills and achievements once again. It was his greatest victory in recent days. To get body enhancement, it was necessary to combine the strength of the muscles with magical manipulation. If you use wisdom, you could find out the conditions for other powerful skills. The manipulation of magic seemed universal, so Ravel began to look for similar abilities. The father, noticing the strange behavior of his son, asked what he was with. However, Ravel did not expect such a conversation and almost wandered the drink. It was then that he realized, if he master his skills, he can really attract the attention of the supreme priest. While his father was wiping after the soul, Saville had already decided he would do everything to be near Anna and join the Heroes' Academy. Meanwhile, Carlo's self-confident demonstrated his sword skill. He has already defeated several rivals in a special tournament. The supreme priest was concerned about Anna's condition. The girl complained of a bad state of health and could not demonstrate the power of the Dragon Knight. Carlo demanded new rivals. It was at this point that Ravel appeared and declared his desire to show his combat skills. Carlo was happy. After all, he despised Ravel and began to humiliate him again. One of the priests reminded that the fighting before God is allowed only to those who have combat talents. But the priestess asked not to stop the match. Carlo was ready to crush his opponent. He always hated Ravel, but the guy was no longer the same, and now he could have repelled. Without waiting for the signal, Carlo rushed forward and collapsed a flurry of blows full of rage. Saville restrained the first wave, but realized it would be difficult to win. Carlo was strong, and anyone else would have fallen. But Ravel was holding on, blocking powerful blows that could crush anyone. Attacks went at lightning speed. Ravel felt a difference in power. Even with the strengthening of the body, its strokes do not compare with Carlo. Carlo came out of himself, forcing Ravel to answer. Even the one who does not have a talent must resist. Otherwise it is not a fight, but a farce. The audience raised the noise, calling Carlo as soon as possible to deal with the failure. Ravel's father decided to help his son and slowed his movements, becoming a conditional target. He wanted Ravel to learn accuracy. Ravel decided to use the imitation skill. It is activated if you fully understand the movements of another fighter through an improved vision. Magic is spent when copying. After all the preparatory procedures, he managed to perfectly repeat the movements of even the best warrior. And that is what he decided to show in battle. Completely reproducing his father's battle, Ravel made the impossible. Carlo won. No one understood how he did, but everyone was amazed. After the victory, Ravel asked permission to join the Heroes' Academy, because he overcame the master. However, the priest replied that it was impossible. The academy is a sacred place related to divine dignity, and only perfect elects are allowed there. The refusal struck Ravel. He apologized for his perseverance and, not to mention a word more, turned and left. And the priest quietly noted, the following rules. But he thought himself, these rules are not always fair. Because if you look at this guy, he is a real riddle, perhaps even for the gods themselves. Raval immediately went to Anna, but learned that she had closed in the room and was already going to the academy tomorrow. However, the guy was not going to give up. He asked his aunt to call her. Anna was very surprised and glad, learning that Ravel had won Carlo without having a combat gift. She confessed that the fighting was scaring her. She did not want to injure anyone. The girl said she dreamed of staying in the village and living quietly near Ravel. And the guy told her about two groups at the Academy of Heroes. Younger students have the best talents and the senior class. Exceptional persons who have been given a special confirmation. If Anna considers Ravel a steep, it is already a sign of his path. Ravel promised, in 3 years he will become so strong that he personally protect Anna and join the Academy of Heroes. Because if Anna is not able to live peacefully, she will not have free time. And Snail wants to be near, even if it is inconvenient. He remembered how she often cried as a child, but every time he came to her, and every time her mood was improved, it's perfect pancakes. As she was ashamed, the girl broke, wiped her tears and confessed how much she liked Ravel. Now she realized it as never before. Ravel wanted to answer something, but Anna covered his mouth and asked him, let him say in 3 years, when he would join the academy. In the meantime, she will also try to become better. Their friendship lasted for years. Even when everyone was said to be a regular child, Anna saw a lot more in it. She always wanted to play with him, and Ravel has long fallen in love with her warm smile. Now that everything in their lives has changed, she wanted to make it a promise. As in childhood, they crossed their fingers, swearing. Ravel realized that even if she is not perfect, he is ready for everything for her smile, and he will definitely become stronger. He will do everything so that Anna should never fight or suffer. Because his hard work exists for her. Ravella's father Aiden taught fencing at school but was always mysterious. He came for a short time, threw a few words and disappeared. Teachers have never been offended by his indifference because they knew Aiden hides great power. On a gloomy, rainy morning, Anna went to the Academy of Heroes. The whole village came to hold a talented girl with best wishes. But only Savile did not come. He did not want to see how she was going. Because the raindrops on his face have already mixed with tears, heavy as gold. He told his father that he did not want to spend time goodbye. Aiden understood him and decided that his son really wants to get to the academy. But Ravel was another child, and his father was surprised how much he wanted to enter there for the girl. But thinking only about her, he will not achieve anything. Aiden explained, talent is not all. Even if Ravel surprises the priest again, he will simply be expelled from the academy. Ravel was surprised how easily his father solved his plans. He really imitated the style of the sword to get a chance. But Aiden said, without testing, there will be no real power. Therefore, he led his son into a dark room. Everything here will not be like in fencing lessons. Ravel was surprised. His father did not even take a bamboo sword, but Aiden created a bright, magical flame. It was a demonic. He said he would teach him a true power that would make him stronger. The flame of the demon was incredible. It burned without a source. The father ordered not to be distracted and focused on meditation. Through this practice, you can gain the power of the demon. Ravella struck his father's abilities, and he fully immersed himself in the process. Aiden explained, there is another world where demons live, but people can gain the same strength by increasing their physical abilities. Even with the gift of wisdom, it is impossible to find information about demonic. This information is classified. Ravel asked why his father was still silent. Aiden replied seriously, this force is too dangerous. It is able to destroy whole peoples. That is why it cannot be spread. The demonic flames feeds on the energy of the air and the vitality of the surrounding. Along with him, even the strongest abilities begin to fade. This flames only smoke in half, but sucks all hidden magic from the body, causing severe pain and exhaustion. Many demons called them differently, but in ancient myths they are creatures from hell that torment the souls for pleasure. To surpass the demons, you need to go through your own hell and withstand. The sage could no longer stand. He fell on the floor, squeezed in pain. But Aiden said, this is just the beginning. A real test ahead. The guy felt breathless, as if he had plunged under water. Even supervisory did not help. The magic disappeared and returned, with new waves of pain. Fear paralyzed Ravella. He lost a sense of time, passing through horrible suffering. My father asked, Do you really want to become strong? Even the victory over the Academy's swordsman is not a limit. If a sage wants to protect the Dragon Knight, it must reveal all its potential. Aiden looked at his son and saw in his eyes a change. Now Ravel was ready for a new life and new knowledge. But despite the achievement, the state of Ravel was terrible. The father explained that it is impossible to achieve perfection in one day. It's time to get out of the room and relax. But Saville did not agree. He is ready to continue the test in no hurry. Although the body seemed completely exhausted, the guy tried to gather thoughts, find the right way out. If he could use wisdom, I would understand how to grasp the demonic power. Although wisdom only helps to find the information you are looking for. Ravella was amazed by the calm posture of his father, who was easily standing next to the flames, and the guy himself kept holding the pressure from the flames clouded. Sounds became loud, raining from the roof, and it became unbearable. He remembered how he walked with Anna in the rain. They were sad because they could not play with a paper plane, only hid under a large canopy. Then Ravel made a beautiful plane, suggested playing at home, but Anna suddenly unfolded him, and the guy was shocked. Instead, the girl quickly made a new airplane, and said that if the circumstances are changing, the approach should be changed, and she suggested launching the ship in the stream. That day, like many others, was full of joy, because there was a best girlfriend nearby, and you could simply play without thinking about difficult. But now Ravel gasped. To align his breathing, he tried to use magical power as when he was preparing for a duel before God. It was then that he gained the skill of circulation of magical energy, but so focused on imitation that he forgot about it. He now mentioned that this skill allows energy to flow freely, improves physical abilities, and reduces magic costs. To activate it, you need to fully master the magical manipulation, and then the body works as an ideal system. The force is constantly updated. A few minutes passed, and the Ravella managed. He fully mastered the processes in the body and gained this rescue skill. But even it was not enough. It was too difficult to meditate, but he had to understand. The main purpose of this workout is circulation. Breathing is only a side effect. And although consciousness almost faded, the result is worth it. Despite the pain and fatigue, the guy once again gathered with his forces and sat in front of the demon flame. This time, the breath was leveled. The father, watching carefully, decided to finish the workout, and wounded his hand sharply. The magical flames were scattered with the sword of the sword. The meditation was completed. But it was only the beginning of the next test. Ravel now had to evade her father's attacks, using all agility. After all, pain, screams, and suffering are part of the demonic force. But if you imagine yourself a real demon, you can only laugh and enjoy a sense of your own power. Aiden did not stop for a moment, forcing her son to fight for hours. But Ravel no longer felt fatigue. Something has changed in it. And here at dawn, when the predatory was completely destroyed, Saville finally gained the demonstration skill. My father gave him a sword, as a thank you. He advised to go to the wild to gain true combat experience, because only in real battles can you become even stronger. Ravel apologized to her mother for an unexpected journey, but she understood everything and helped to collect things. He said goodbye and was ready to go. He thanked his parents for his care, promised to return. The mother was worried, because the son had an unusual talent, but believed in him. My father remembered how he was not in the temple for a battle before God. Their village was small, but the temple was striking. Such temples were around the world. It is here that talents are proclaimed, and each inhabitant depended on what he would receive. Aiden told how he traveled the world and met those who tried to surpass themselves, even if the talent did not allow it. And once he just laughed at them. But now he changed his opinion, because even his son gained demonic power too quickly. It may have indestible potential. And when his mother wept, he tried to comfort her. From now on, their son Saville will meet many people and gain new knowledge. Maybe he will once become the strongest in the world, so parents should believe in him and hope for the best. On a deserted road far from the settlements, a vestige was rushing, and the girl was in a panic. A huge, fierce monster was chased behind. It seemed that death was inevitable, but fortunately, her companion was a bold sage. Without hesitation, he snatched the sword and rushed. The lightning blow, and the monster lost his head. It was the very combat training that the father was talking about. Later, in Taverna, the girl heard the story and did not believe in such a coincidence, because Saville seemed too unusual. She was struck by his strength and courage. He defeated the orca with one blow. She wanted to know more, but Ravel was in a hurry and had no conversion. The girl noted that his clothes were all in dirt and blood. But the guy did not pay attention. He was indifferent even to the smell. She offered him new clothes. It turned out to be the best product from her store. She was named Laura, and she was a member of the Traders Guild. Then she gathered the trophies and explained that the horns of the orca have a big price. They can be profitable to sell and buy good armor. But nevertheless, Savell will not be able to sell them on their own. Only members of the guild have the right. Laura promised to help. It was thanks for salvation. Ravel did not want to delve into commercial affairs and said goodbye, but the girl suggested to bring him to the city of Goston. The guy thought that in the carriage you could relax and learn a new spell with the help of wisdom, so he agreed. The road through the mountains brought them to the plain, where the city of Lipseal is spread. It turned out to be much larger and noisier than Ravel expected. This place was a shelter for travelers and traders, and the road to the Labyrinth city was planning to go through many such settlements. People here were loud and friendly. They were happy to share gossip and news in tavernments behind a mug of strong beer. This time, everyone discussed the feat of a guy who defeated the giant orca alone and asked to tell the details. Ravel explained that in order to achieve such force, first you need to completely exhaust magical energy, and it takes a lot of time and effort. People listened closely to how he talked about physical exercises, muscle training, and hundreds of shocks every day. Everything is difficult at first, but later becomes a habit. Then Ravel joked that it was a joke, and that the real training took place at his father's martial arts school. But people continued to listen with admiration. Suddenly, the tavern door dissolved, and a strange man ran into the hall. Immediately became interested in those who overcame the orca. Everyone immediately pointed to the Ravella. The bald man rushed to him and began to ask for help. It turned out that bloodthirsty bandits settled near the caves. They robbed the city and attacked suppliers, putting it on the boundary of decline. The man was agitated and begged for help, because the disappearance of the city would mean the destruction of all life around. But Ravel, despite his request, refused. He was in a hurry, and was not going to interfere with the problems of an unfamiliar city. He advised to hire mercenaries who were able to deal with bandits. But it turned out that all the soldiers had already been destroyed, and the mayor hoped very much for the hero who defeated the orca helmet. Laura intervenes here. She offered a Ravella a gold coin as a reward and a quick carriage that would send him to the right place after the task. 1 gold coin could live on 1 gold coin, and the fast horse and carriage would significantly shorten the path. But the guy was surprised. Why is such a high fee? It turned out that this city is extremely profitable for traders. 1 coin is nothing compared to what can be lost due to decline. Then Ravel finally understood Laura's motives, and agreed to help, though he knew that for such a dangerous task it was a very low price. Thanks to the skill of wisdom, he learned more about the bandits. They usually attacked groups and ambushed because they had a low level of strength. These people were poorly gifted. Their society ignored them. So most became criminals, and Ravel even partially understood them. After all, he survived it. Ravel decided not to worry about the motivations of the bandits. They attacked suddenly, so why not use the effect of surprise and at night quietly neutralize one by one? He did not want to shed blood, so he decided not to use the sword. The bandits did not expect a night attack, and the first of them immediately felt the power of Ravel. He tried to resist, but Savell evaded and first applied body strengthening. The blow was accurate and devastating. The powerful bandit fell to the ground, and it became clear. He was not as scary as he wanted to seem. Moving deeper into the cave, Ravel skillfully neutralized the enemies one by one. Confidence in his own forces grew. This was reminiscent of the training that the father was talking about. But as soon as he almost completed the clearing, he was thrown out of the darkness. It was a leader, much stronger than everyone else. The giant angry bandit shouted that the guy had destroyed the whole gang and destroyed plans. Ravel explained that he did not kill, only stunned. It was surprised by the leader who warned, "If the guy continues to rest, we'll die." The leader of the leader made Ravel dodge, but the enemy was not going to stop. Its blade was huge, and the muscles increased several times. It was superhuman power. He stated that he had the gift of best single, equal to the Knights of the Royal Guard. Ravel was surprised. Why be a criminal? But the leader laughed. He trained for a long time, but he got bored. To steal and kill it became fun for him. Ravel called him a real scum, but the bandit only laughed and promised to crush a cheeky young man. A short attack began. Heavy blows were pouring one by one. No opponent withstood such a fierce, but Swellow remained unharmed. He even leaned to make a joke by calling the enemy's style Premier, the leader of the otter. The guy evaded all the attacks. His blows were faster and more accurate than even in Carlo. The strengthening of the body and the magical strength of the Ravel have grown significantly. This meant all his workouts were in vain. He was once considered weak, and now he exceeded expectations. Finally, the guy went into a counterattack. A few devastating blows in the face of stunning the enemy. The leader swayed, began to fall. Ravel himself was surprised. He did not expect such a quick victory. He offered the enemy to rise and continue the battle, and suddenly Laura appeared nearby and asked why he was. The trade was praised by Ravel for having overlooked the whole flock of robbers. The guy was surprised why she was here, but the girl just smiled. These bandits terrorized all merchants and stole the most valuable. Now Ravel realized her true purpose. She wanted to get to the cave and pick up treasures hidden there. Her plan worked even better than expected. She hoped that after that, all the merchants would be obliged to her. The girl was scratching among the prey, looking for something very important, and in a few minutes found. She joyfully showed Ravel a small wooden cage with a bizarre creature, similar to a small dragon. All bandits were caught and transferred to the guards. Saville got a gold coin and a carriage with a horse, and Laura, what she was looking for. But suddenly the dragon ate a very rare ingredient, and the girl was scared. Ravel did not understand why this was such a tragedy. He said that the baby did not understand anything. But Laura explained that this ingredient was extremely rare and very important for the guild. She confessed that she had to deliver it immediately after the task. Then it would be recognized as a hero. But now the chance is destroyed. The ingredient could be prepared by the royal dish, and the new one will appear in only 100 years. Ravel, of course, wanted to somehow solve the situation with the ingredient and suggested just to buy it. But it turned out it cost at least 5 platinum coins. And one such coin is equal to hundreds of gold. The guy was shocked. To earn that amount, he would have to destroy at least 500 gangs. And where to get so much to the whole country? Laura thought and decided to come up with something else. Suddenly, she cunningly suggested to pay off the debt. Her body. Seeing Ravel's reaction, she immediately explained that she was referring to hire him as a security guard to the city of Vimeia. It was a large trading city with many guilds and shops, and most importantly, it lay on the Ravel road, so the accompaniment did not change anything in its plans. However, the guy specified such work should cost 5 platinum coins. Laura just smiled. Her guild has enough influential and very wealthy merchants. In addition, the monsters have become too aggressive lately. This has not been the years. Food spoils, people are afraid to transport goods. But right now, she said, the perfect moment has come. To buy everything spoiled for nothing and to resell in the city of Vals, where the prices flew. Ravel was not surprised. This girl could find benefits even in a catastrophe. He admired that such situations are a chance for big investment. After a short reflection, the guy agreed. Laura asked once again whether he could trust him his own life, and Ravel promised that he would do everything to protect her. In addition, to fight with strong monsters and become stronger. Exactly what he needed. They shook their hands, securing an agreement. But Laura reminded, since Ravel is not a merchant, he needs to sign a submission contract. Otherwise, the dragon will take away the guards as an unregistered monster. He was surprised why she didn't say it before. But Laura just laughed. Forgot. And indeed, without a contract they do not get into the city. Saville asked the dragon if he wanted to sign a contract. The baby nodded approvingly, and the thick satellite was annoyed that everyone was crazy here. The submission skill is provided only after voluntary communication with the monster, and can only be obtained when the city has such a talent. The conditions of acquiring the skill are described in the records of the sages, but Ravel doubted, are these rules really accurate? Maybe something has changed. The instructions state that the contract requires telepathy, and without the right skill, nothing will work. Telepathy should be activated by will, by moving magical energy from yourself to a partner. It is important to have the skill of magic circulation. Ravel thought, perhaps those whose veins flow the demonic force, capable of doing the same even without standard conditions. Understanding all this, he focused, though he was not sure that he could. And it was at this moment that Laura screamed, the monsters were approaching. Again, like the world of crazy. Ravel remembered the attack of the bandits and did not understand why she chose this path. Yes, he was promised a good reward, but even so, Laura turned out to be very skillful with a response, and the fast horse helped to break away from the monsters. Saved, they decided to stop in the woods and rest. Vimeia remained only 1 day, so the contract should be concluded as soon as possible. Laura suggested that in the afternoon he will accompany her, and at night, will train for the contract. She did not understand why those stupid rituals, but Ravel asked to treat it seriously. The girl said, "Did she understand that his true goal was the city of Flapar? And why does he so persistently protect this dragon?" Laura hurried, so she did not have time to ask the mayor that this dragon is so special. Ravel explained that he promised to protect this creature, and must adhere to it. If you need to sign a contract, it will do it. Then the guy asked Laura about her main purpose, but the girl did not respond. Only with delight she watched as Ravel ignited the fire with magic. She could not believe that he had such a force. Meanwhile, Ravel calmly asked that it would be for dinner. This is their last meal before arriving in the city. But Laura didn't think about food anymore. She was amazed. She has never met a person who could have both magic and fight a naked. Only special people can awaken it. But Saville was more modest. He considered the creation of fire a common and useful skill. He just trained a lot until he learned. And that struck the girl even more. Ravel asked if the girl believed that he was laughing at her. But Laura was sure that he really had enormous potential and exceptional abilities. Then the guy remembered Anna, the strongest to the battle, who received an extremely rare gift and could defeat 100 opponents on his own. At the Academy of Heroes, she surprised everyone. Ravel explained that he promised to become stronger than her and protect her. So, it must train even more and become even stronger. Laura felt a slight injection of jealousy and wondered if Anna was his beloved. But Saville evaded the answer and hurried to return to the contract with the dragon. To communicate, he wanted to combine his magic with the magic of the dragon. But it was not easy. Their magic waves did not coincide, and the merger had to change the frequency. To adjust the magic, you should create a narrow stream of force and gradually expand it. It is the basis of a magical flow capable of combining different creatures. Concerning, Saville began to combine magical energy with the power of the dragon. The main thing is not to be mistaken. But the dragon shouted unexpectedly, and the guy asked not to interfere. The creation of a telepathic canal requires focus. The effort was given. After a few minutes, the wave of energy became stable. Suddenly, Ravel realized, the dragon not just shouted, but warned him. A monster sneaked behind. Saville had to react. He jumped up and attacked instantly. Fear pierced him. But it was impossible to stop. He was moving a huge monster. Ravel decided to burn the creature, but the dragon stopped him. Somewhere inside the tree, he heard the cries of the girl. The dragon asked to unleash him, and Saville quickly cut the rope. The baby rapidly rushed to a tree full of bloodthirsty branches. He was fearlessly looking for Laura, and Ravel proudly watched how a new friend quickly finds a source of sound. In fact, Laura was trapped among the branches and could not move. Ravel immediately rushed to save her, cutting the branch with a heavy blade. The monster could not stand the blows. The body of the tree flew into piles, scattering around the fragments in a sharp branch. Laura thanked Ravel for salvation, but the guy stressed the merit and the dragon who first found her. The girl gently stroked the baby and sincerely thanked. In response, he only quietly thickened, like a kitten. In the end, Saville finished the ritual and with the help of telepathy concluded a contract. Now the dragon has officially become his companion. The guy gave him the name, Kaya, and the baby liked it. You could move on, but Ravel still felt guilt. He did not notice the disappearance of Laura and attack. After that, he promised to be more attentive. Meanwhile, Laura remembered the prophetic words. She had to meet the owner of the hard work talent, which would help her achieve great success. Watching Ravel possesses a blade, the magic of fire, and even curb the dragon, she no longer doubted. He was. If the words of the deity are true, then this guy is the key to her future. How exactly, she did not know yet. At the same moment, the goddess paid attention to Ravel and sent a warning. There would be a difficult way ahead. And if he does not make every effort, Anna will die. Ravel decided to visit Mr. Colt, and learned that he has not been out of the office for a long time and studies black magic. After receiving the talent of Colt, he tried to master all the knowledge as soon as possible. His aura became increasing. In fact, he got the highest wizard's talent, the Sage skill. It opens access to any knowledge and makes the owner a walking encyclopedia. Meanwhile, friends got Vimeia, the largest trade city of Tyria, where each guild had its influence, and the heritage of cults was protected by the state. Once they arrived, Laura went to a trading company, and Ravel with Kaya, armed with Mappa, went to look for a hotel. And they were amazed at its scale. The streets of the city were buzzing from the crowds. Ravel was not on its own, so he quickly found a less crowded street. Kaya's dragon was worried that they could get lost, but the guy walked confidently until he came across several girls. They were clearly local prostitutes who were waiting for a generous client. It was a quarter of entertainment where everything was for gambling. The unusual appearance of a young boy attracted the attention of girls accustomed to rude types. But Ravel and Kaya did not like here at all. At every point of view, the greed and disdain was read, which caused internal anxiety. Along with the girls were their guards, real bandits. Noticing Ravel, they immediately decided to clean the guy and sell the dragon for big money. It seemed to them that the narrow street was their kingdom. They already imagined how they would deal with the guy and survive on his things. But Ravel was not going to obey himself. He sent one of the attackers to the knockout. In the narrow passage, it was even easier than in the open field. But the other attackers were not going to retreat. They attacked again and again, and Ravel cleverly evaded and suggested that they retreat until they could stand on their feet. The bandits just laughed. The girls, on the contrary, begged to stop and not make a fight right on the street. However, the attackers were ruthless. The attacks continued. The noise attracted the attention of passers, by who coincided with the narrow street. Savel skillfully defended himself, coordinatedly reflecting the blows, and one of the local girls was amazed at his skill and decided to thank with the help of seduction. But the guy refused. It was at the moment when the girl pressed against him that a new figure appeared. A young sorceress, which was attracted by the fuss. She was shocked and said she would stop this violence immediately. Ravel tried to explain that he had been attacked, but the locals were already running. Then the witch struck an air spell that swept the whole street. Ravel realized that such magic in close space could destroy all the shops around. So, focusing, he stopped the flow of magic, remembering his workout. He managed to do it, but he stunned the sorceress. She could not believe that the stranger tamed a spell without a special tool. Ravel used restraining magic to stop her, and suddenly an older man appeared from her back and urged the girl to stop. It was Mr. Colt himself, the owner of incredible wisdom and the keeper of ancient knowledge. He warned it not to use such magic in the city. He was struck by a guy who was able to stop the spell with his bare hands. This meant the presence of a tremendous stock of magical energy. Colt asked the guy to name, and Ravel answered without hesitation. The magician explained that without the intervention of the Ravel, the consequences would be catastrophic. The girl accused him of provocation, but Ravel again recalled that he was attacked first. Mr. Colt did not find out the details. He just invited Ravel to his estate and promised a wonderful reception. The guy was surprised, but Ravel reminded that he had little time, but Colt assured he would be happy to take, and they moved forward. Laura was not happy about this meeting. Ravel immediately realized that these two were already familiar, and maybe something happened between them. The Colt estate was very sophisticated, and after a few minutes they were inside. Ravel thought that a person was very rare. Laura explained, Colt Vimeia is an heir to a wealthy kind who once founded this city. That is why it is so rich. After being placed in a spacious room, Colt began to talk about a rare book that he recently received, but doubted her authenticity. Ravel wondered if he read it. Colt replied what was doing this. His confidence cheered Laura, who advised him to work on his own disgust, despite his rare talent. Ravel did not understand why the usual trade behaves so brazenly with the owner of the estate. Laura explained that Colt recognizes only magic. Even he took this book without permission from the merchant. He believed that compliance with human rules would not open the depths of magic. Laura also suggested going far, in search of a real witchcraft. Ravel was indignant, but she just asked, why did not he still join the Heroes Academy? Ravel realized that Mr. Colt, like his girlfriend, had the highest talent. Wanda explained that he planned to join the Heroes Academy, but eventually left this idea to prepare for the role of the heir. Colt confessed that even his refusal was a maze. The Academy of Heroes did not refuse, but they finally resigned. Ravel still did not believe in this strange world. Lara remained dissatisfied. Why did Colt refuse to study, if he was not even going to be an heir? But it turned out that there was another, deeper reason. Mr. Colt asked Ravel's talent. He explained that he was just a magician, and it was because of his ability to extinguish the magic of the fallow deer. Colt praised him for such a skill. Finally, Ravel decided to tell the truth. His true talent was from the very beginning. Hearing this, Colt came very close to scared the guy. As it turned out, he had long heard of someone who was supposed to get Dylan's talent. Mr. Colt remembered how that night, when he received his talent, God himself told him about a man with the talent of hard work, which he would meet, unless he did not go to the academy. It is this person who should help him learn magic. Ravel listened carefully and asked what he planned to do next. Without hesitation, Colt stated that he went on a trip with Ravel. because together they will be able to achieve higher results in the study of magic. Lara intervened in the conversation, saying that she would also travel with Ravel. The guy was surprised because she did not show a special desire before. Colt only advised not to try to understand Lara. As a trade, it is capable of everything for profit. If this girl wants to be nearby, then she has a self-serving goal. Lara scattered but could not come up with nothing. Ravel realized, though Lara and cunning, his talent and hard work are a real achievement, and together they can gain both knowledge and wealth. Seeing the girl worried, Ravel suggested traveling together. He acknowledged the importance of both magic and compliance with the rules, so a good team will not hurt the team. And although Lara is greedy, life teaches life every day. In addition, Kaya also wants to be near her, because she treats him with his favorite almonds. When Colt asked if the guy was going to sell his dragon, Lara was indignant that she would not allow it. Kaya, her true friend. This was surprised, because for Lara, money was always above all. Lana, however, opposed a joint trip. She considered it unacceptable that such a sage traveled with a strange company. How can I throw in the inheritance and the academy for the sake of a dubious union? But Colt was adamant, and asked Lana to take care of everything in his absence. At that moment, Lana felt something strange. The magical influence of Colt made her blink instantly, and seemed to see herself from the outside. Colt apologized to the guests and reported that he should leave, though no one understood his true motives. Lana could not get rid of a strange feeling. When the girl finally recovered, she suddenly promised to fully support Mr. Colt and take care of all things. Ravel suspected that she was magically influenced. Colt confirmed that he simply pulled out one opinion from her consciousness. And since heirs who do not want inheritance have to leave the house, this rule can now be used. Ravel already knew how strong influence mental magic was. These processes are very complicated. So he asked if Colt was confident in his choice. He explained. The richer the estates and trading guilds became, the more controversy arose. Lana will be able to find a compromise, though it is not unmistakable. Lana is a good aristocrat. When patrolling the streets, she learns about the lives of ordinary people and understands. No one wants to live in poverty. Colt specified that belonging to the main branch of the genus, and Lana to the younger. Due to stupid rules, it cannot inherit the main line. Ravel suggested that it may be worth breaking the rules. Colt agreed. After all, mental magic is imposed not only on the estate, but also on anyone who can intervene. The road ahead is long, but Savel decided to pass it to the end and get the title of a great master. It was at this moment that joyful maids reported that everything was ready for the trip. Even the collected books in black magic, which Colt did not have time to read. Ravel was surprised by their devotion and called Colt a true master of mental influence. But Colt just smiled and confessed. He first used a mental attack. He only recently read about this effective method in the ancient book. Lana, when he heard the conversation, asked Colt whether he wanted to use mental magic on her. But he only thoughtfully replied that she did not even imagine how everything works. Ravel realized. Although it looked insidious, sometimes such methods are really needed. His talent of hard work gave peace, strength, and confidence, and in combination with wisdom, it is the path to absolute power. Inspired, Colt suggested not to delay and go together on a trip because, acting side by side, they will be able to achieve incredible. Ravel recalled the strange structure of his magic and asked what Colt was thinking about. He replied, among all theories of the magic that happened to him, something similar was found only in legends about lost magic. Colt was fascinated by Ravel's rare skills and asked to tell more. But he himself did not realize that he possessed ancient magic. He just studied, and he went well. The journey they started after leaving the city was full of joy and adventure. Monsters happened on the way, and it became a great workout. Until serious threats appeared, Colt and Ravel studied magic, shared knowledge. Lara and Lana also found common topics. Kaya enjoyed a friendly atmosphere. The city of the maze was a real challenge. There were desperate adventure seekers to check their strength. Once a huge maze suddenly emerged and constantly changed the shape, generating magical creatures. Only one man, Satir, once returned alive and rich. But before going there, you need to choose the guild. Lara has promised to help with the choice, but she will have to get together. Colt warned. Laurie should not be trusted, because only he knows the truth. But suddenly a strange girl with long ears appeared and offered to enter her guild. In her opinion, the best among all. Lara immediately denied. When you see someone worry, it becomes clear. This guild is small and cannot attract the strong. Therefore, It is better to choose a powerful structure with prospects. But the girl with her ears insisted it was in her guild that real sword masters grow. It cheered up Colt, and Ravel seemed interesting such a prospect. But Lara has warned, there are other ways to become stronger. The stranger explained that in her guild, talent is optional. Here they train the spirit and body to the boundaries. But that is why most do not stand. Ravel still suggested checking this place. Lara assured is a waste of time, but Colt ordered to turn right. They got a huge guild building, and were stunned by its scale. Colt was no less surprised, because his anticipation failed. Lara is angry. How can such a worthless guild can have such a building? But there was silence and emptiness inside. The girl immediately rushed to the only man. It was her acquaintance. She became angry with her father because he was indifferent to her. She was ashamed of others. And Ravel watched and wondered how they could be a family. The bald father stated that this year the number of students increased. But the girl reminded, she was only 12. Colt was shocked. What's going on? The man explained. All beginners, having met with difficulties, flee. No one wants to get out of the comfort zone or face stress. Then he, the caught up, shouted loudly the name of Aiden, his student who was proud of. It made Ravel dare. Colt noticed the reaction and asked what was the matter. Ravel replied, Aiden is his father's name. Maybe it's just a coincidence. But the drunk old man became interested. With amazing agility, he snatched the sword from the guy and began to consider. Immediately recognized the familiar patterns on Gardy. Ravel was indignantly demanded to return the weapon. This reaction instantly provoked old memories, and he recognized the son of Aiden's son. He asked, is he really a son of a sword master? He confessed that he learned about the guy from the old letter he once sent Aiden. All present were shocked by the truth. No one suspected that Ravel's father was a legendary swordsman who studied in the village. And so, Ravel himself is not a simple magician. Ira thought about new prospects. And Bonzo, struck by an unexpected meeting, could not remember how many years he had passed with the last conversation with Aiden. Borzo continued the conversation, introduced his daughter and confessed that he was once a demon of a heavy sword. Aiden, they say, had to remember their friendship. But Ravel heard about this bald giant for the first time. Borzo was not offended. It was in the spirit of Aiden. He began to remember how incredible the young man was. Even despite the conversation, Borzo did not let the bottle let go, and, tasting the next sip, admired Aiden's talents. Ravel knew nothing about it. For Borzo, Aiden was the best student, skilled, strong, as if blessed by the gods themselves. Ravel knew. His father buried his gift for a long time, and it seems that Borzo tried to inspire him to enter the guild. Although rigid workouts have long scared the students, Colt explained that the cause of decline is the lack of diligence. Most just flee, notwithstanding the pace. Borzo agreed but proudly said, guild still exists. And now that the son of Aiden's great swordsman appeared, there is a chance to repeat his path, take trials, and join the Brotherhood. Borzo did not want to spend a minute, and suggested Ravel to start training immediately to master a special technique of sword possession. However, the young man did not share the passion, and suggested a little postpone. He wanted to learn about other guilds. It shocked Borzo and Ira. The girl begged not to waste time, but Borzo was a different opinion. Let him explore everything, and then understand that all other guilds are not worth nothing. Ravel realized that here, to the maze, people come in experience that you will not gain in ordinary life. But small guilds are often unable to give it. Ira became angry with her father. All her efforts were in vain. She tried so much to attract at least someone. Colt advised to move. A girl with long ears could not let them go. The next stop was the Guild of the Red Wolf, more lively, with an obviously better reputation among adventurers. After sitting at the table, everyone agreed. The place is really pleasant, and they responded well. There were high ranking here. It turned out that the rank determines access to tasks and enemies. From simple orders to battles with monsters that can destroy the entire states. Colt supported the idea of development here. Lara sincerely regretted Ira. It was at this point that a quarrel between the boys began at the entrance, who found out who was the more worthy title of a real warrior. One of them, named, noticed new ones and asked if they really wanted to join this guild. Colt just smiled. The day was full of surprises, and Ravel felt something familiar. The boy was overweight and pride. Agido proposed to talk about his abilities. The first was Colt, boasting his wisdom, and struck the boy. Then the word took a Savile and remembered Dylan's talent. Ajito has never heard of it and stated, "It is better for them to go, because this guild is not for them." Savile understood. He was not mistaken in evaluating this arrogant boover. Agree stated that he was only strong, so he would take Colt and others are time to go. Ravel concluded, with such as he, it is better not to do it. But Colt called the agitated, because power does not determine the talent, but achievement, endurance, and will. But he believed that only talent determines the value of man, and no workouts will change it. It was difficult to argue with this. The guilds were really waiting for newcomers, but to judge them only by talent was unreasonable. Ravel decided to engage a little bit and asked, "What? How will he wins him? A great sword. Then all the pathos will disappear." Again, blushed from rage. The eyes were blood. He wanted to erase the dust of the one who died to him. Suddenly, a fee girl appeared nearby. She asked sarcastically if he quarreled again with someone and called it fool. Ravella's friends watched silently, not knowing what to expect from this meeting. The guild that seemed promising was a cube of self-confident fools, which at the first opportunity tried to prove something. Agree threw at the end that they would still meet at the beginners' tournament, and then everyone would see who was capable of. Bard knew nothing about the tournament, but the cat Lizzie explained. Once a year in the city, there's a tournament of newcomers. It is a large-scale event that raises the reputation of the Winners Guild. After leaving the guild, friends sighed with relief. The place was terrible. But everyone agreed. In this city, everything is decided by strength, and for the development, the arithmetosis is a good choice. Meanwhile, Krumto's burger, and dreamed of proving his advantage in battle with new rivals. But Lizzie warned, it is not necessary to relax so much. She pointed to a thin cut on his stomach, and said that if Ravel wanted, he could break him before the sword touched his neck. So, he did not even realize how close was the defeat. Such self-confidence is a dangerous thing. True strength is a skill, not arrogance. And if you do not understand it, it is still too green. Ravel thought, winning the tournament will make him famous, give good tasks and access to real tests. But friends just laughed. Plans are too smart for a regular guy. But Colt, on the contrary, supported. Lonely glory is a great idea. One thing was common to all. After the Guild of the Red Wolf, there was a disgusting taste. No one wanted to go there. Friends returned to the empty guild of Borzo. But before you come, they discussed the prospects and difficulty of training. Colt did not want to work hard to work, but he was persuaded. And here is the day of the tournament. The main arena, the crowd is buzzing, and the presenter, the charming Kana, represents the commentator of Sid from the Guild of the Red Wolf. It turned out he is a S-class adventure seeker. The presenters warmed up the audience, and soon a signal was made before the first round. The time of the show came. Participants are the best swordsmen of the guild, the agitated and the sage, who had to prove the power of his talent. Diligence. Viewers laughed. How can a guy with diligence can be drawn to a high-quality sword? But Lara urged everyone to hide and watch. Borzo looked closely at the arena and sincerely hoped for Ravel's victory, though he doubted. The opponent was too experienced. But he wished the guy a victory. Let him crush this arrogant praise. And here, the presenters announced the beginning of the battle. The recording sounders transferred the leaders clearly, and the arena frozen. Everyone prepared for a spectacular duel of newcomers. And a few weeks ago, on the first day in the city, friends staged a celebration of arrival. The food came out to glory. Everyone noted the quality of the ingredients, and the little dragon Q happily screamed, causing the most delicious pieces. Ira first saw such a beast. Ravel explained, it is only a baby, still growing. Ira, naivena, asked for permission to hug him. In her arms, the dragon melted. He felt warm and gentle and recognized it with a very good person. It surprised Ravella, never reacted so emotionally. But the dragon himself said he is a wonderful connoisseur of a shower. Meanwhile, Borzo, having drank a few mugs of lemonade, decided to talk seriously. Although Lara was unable to become an adventure seeker, she had a good thing to trade. She was doing a great deal and rescued from bankruptcy. She carefully reviewed all the documents and found that Borzo has long left the adventures due to injury. Nevertheless, Lara asked Borzo and Urot about their talents. As it turned out, Urot was a magical archer and was very proud of it. Savile heard about it for the first time, and Colta did not surprise it. Ira explained, thanks to talent, she can shoot magical balls, very effectively at a distance. Her favorite weapon is a couple of pistols. Colt asked to evaluate the weapon. Lara answered, inexpensive goods. Ira confessed that there is not enough money for the bettor, and Ravel considered these guns too weak. Colt then asked Ravella why he wants to become stronger, because he has already reached a significant level. Friends suggested, through a girl. But Ravel asked not to invent. He told about his childhood girlfriend, Anna. She did not want to fight, but sought to join the Academy of Heroes, so they had to divorce, hoping for a future meeting. If Anna enters the academy, she will be enrolled in the army. She will become a defender. And Ravel promised to become stronger to protect her from all the horrors of war. Friends were amazed at his sincere intentions. The girls rejoiced, sincerely envious of Annie. Not everyone is so happy to get care from a guy who honestly gained. For the first time, Savel discovered their true purpose. Brilling enthusiasm, he suggested that you start a specialization immediately, and all friends supported him. Everyone wanted to see him the strongest swordsman. A few weeks have passed, and it's time to experience new abilities. Again, confident in himself, promised to show everything he learned after their meeting in the Red Wolf. Ravel only crumbled, not differently, but a new form of agitated. He perceived all these ponuts as a cheap performance. He did not reveal his plans, only warned to be careful. But the honestly dispersed, he is not to reputation, the main victory, and the chats should be stopped and go to the case. Thirsty glory, agitated broke out of place in a rapid attack. But his movements were too predictable. Ravel was already waiting. This time he was not going to spare. He fought for full force. But this is exactly what he wanted. He recalled that in this arena, death is impossible. The magic of the highest level protects participants. Only when life energy is reduced to 0, the fighter is recognized as defeated, but does not die. Thanks to these rules, all participants can fight without restraining themselves, without fear of life. The audience was delighted. The thoughts were divided. Some put on the life, others cheered for a Ravella, although they were given a much less chance. This battle reminded Ravel about his youth, training with his father in his native village. Perhaps this would help him to join the Academy of Heroes. But now he no longer followed other people's movements. After a few minutes, the agitated one realized the opponent was not the simple one that seemed. Ravel promised he will show everything he learned. And these were not empty words. The preparation was rigid. He trained continuously under the supervision of friends. He headed everything, of course, Borzo, and trained no worse than his father once. The method was ruthless, but effective. And Lara, meanwhile, was bored next to the dragon. Borzo constantly reminded, it is important to maintain focus under any conditions. Running with load is a great way to train both strength and self-control. With each step, Savel felt insane. The magic of Borzo gravity was extremely strong. The workouts were exhausted to the limit. Ira could not withstand tension. She was even more convinced. It is good that she chose the trading path, not a fighter. But Savel was not going to stop. He clasped his teeth, gathered all the magical power and moved on. It was not only because of its diligence that Ira did not fall. Borzo silently was fond of his stubbornness. But even this was not enough. Ravel eventually lost control of the body and fell. Lara has run away. Ravel could resist gravity thanks to magic, could increase power. But the body did not have time to adapt to such changes. He lacked control. To achieve the result again, you will have to start from scratch. In contrast, Colt moved forward with amazing concentration. It deserved respect. It was obvious. Colt opposed the magic of gravity by his own powerful magic. It could only do it really a strong sorcerer. Seeing Ravel's confusion, Colt said, "So you will not protect Anna. Imagine that Borzo attacks her. How can you help?" Borzo realized that Colt was just motivating the guy, and asked not to make a villain. However, the method worked. The sage immediately gathered. The words of Colt strengthened his spirit. And now, in a duel, he felt a powerful inner push. Observers were surprised. How so? The attacks of unsurpassed Agito do not reach the target. Everyone was considered agitated by the best sword and hunter that always had an advantage. But this time he could not hit, and already lost his self-control. The impatience covered him. He sought to finish a strange battle. This is what Ravel was waiting for, until the opponent will lose the balance and become defenseless to the counterattack. Lara and Borzo were watched enthusiastically. All this was the result of the right workout. This technique was intended for fighting with monsters, but what is different? The chosen strategy was perfect. Although Lara was still worried, Ravel skillfully evaded and instantly counterattacked. His body became more flexible due to strengthening in battle. Everyone understood. The guy can attack at any time, almost without spending magic. His blows were absolutely unpredictable. The audience was crazy. He was beautifully possessed by vital and magical power, all thanks to the exceptional talent of diligence. Sid and Kanna could not understand why their forecasts did not come true. Why does the best sword of the Red Wolf's Guild loses in the eyes of all? But the agitated, though used to playing in life, was now set to go to the end, even if it all over. Death. He praised the opponent for such determination. The tactics of slow exhaustion really bear fruit. Ravel wondered if it was not a shame to lose a newcomer. The Agido recognized as humiliating, but the battle has not yet been completed. But Ravel had already felt the full advantage. The rival lost the concentration. It was only a decisive blow. And this moment came. The blow to the nape was unexpected. Even the experienced sword staggered, and the crowd was frozen from shock. Everyone understood. It was magic. No one even has time to notice how a fiery ball appeared. The effectiveness of such a reception was amazed. To create sufficient space for the attack, it was necessary to calculate everything in advance. Ravel cunningly forced the enemy to stay at a distance. He was not going to waste such an opportunity. He focused and prepared the most powerful blow. For him, it was a step towards the main goal, to become stronger for his duty. Finally, Ravel hit the decisive. The vital energy of the Agido fell to zero. The arena exploded with applause. The presenters announced the winner. Everyone was amazed. The best sword lost simply and rapidly. Lara did not hide the hobby with his friends. Now no one doubted. Savell became a favorite of the tournament. But his magical energy was at a critically low level. Nevertheless, he quickly recovered and defeated the second rival, the Oscar swordsman from the Crown Sword Guild. In the third round, he defeated Gold, a warrior of the axe from the Guild of the Volatile Axe. After these victories, his name thundered. He went to the fourth round with determination to become a champion. The audience was delighted. No one recently believed in Ravel, and now everyone saw how he turned through diligence into a formidable opponent. The next rival was a magical thinker who did not receive any scratches in previous battles. Her appearance with 2 pistols was admirable, and many expected that she would stop Ravella. Remote weapons are a serious threat. But Saville was ready. The presenters solemnly announced the beginning of the battle. A week before the tournament, Ira became angry. Her favorite guns exploded during shooting. Lara explained that they did not withstand magical charges, too low quality. Ravel was very worried that the girl could have been injured, and suggested postponement of workout because of a bad anticipation. Lara suggested ordering a new weapon, but Ira knew. Guns from other countries cost at least 100 gold. Her old pair was presented by her father, a foreign master. No one wanted to take the repair. It would be too expensive. So Ira decided that winning the tournament is her only chance to make a new weapon. But nevertheless, the thinker was afraid of defeat. Lara asked Ravella to explain Eerie that you could find a different way out, and Ravel said he would try to create revolvers on his own. They say, it is how to cook a prescription dish, only the necessary materials. Lara first laughed and urged Colt to intervene. Of course, Saville had no instructions. But if you experiment a little, you can create another weapon. The main thing is to get magical iron. Lara has a small margin. She did not want to give it just like that. But Ravel, interested in examining a piece of iron, decided it was impossible to go. He intended to use alchemical skills and try to create a weapon for the first time in life. The girls watched the process closely, and Ravel, inspired by the image of girls with pistols, decided to create an even weapon, erotic guns. At first he created the trunk, then attached the arms, and later sight and bend. The heroine was amazed. Ravel really looked like a master of the gunman. Even Colt became interested in his ability to work with magical metal. The careful one could see the similarity between magic and alchemy. However, the metal was stronger than Ravel expected. He lacked magic to complete the process. The Era doubted, but still believed in success. The thinker sincerely thanked the boy for his determination. She did not expect him to dare to create a weapon when her guns broke. It was at this point that Borzo, the leader of the Red Wolf, appeared. Hearing about the new weapon for Ira, he praised the guy, the true son of the Great Father. Now it's time to try pistols at the tournament. Ira planned to keep the distance and attack from there. But Savelle understood. If he did not approach quickly, the bullets would get it. He began to get closer rapidly, and the leading Kanna shouted. The bullets were already sliding the earth. Thanks to joint training, Ravel knew Ira's strategy and looking for a weak place in its defense to use the moment. Fastly maneuvering, he evaded the magical balls and when he was nearby, struck a powerful blow, knocking out his weapon from her hands. The arena exploded. But suddenly, a surprise. Ravel refused to strike the last blow. Kana shouted into the microphone without understanding his actions. Ira was in despair. Ravel had his opinion. Ira was capable of more. She just had to master the method of owning guns. Even without weapons, she left her father's skills. In any situation, you need to fight to the end. The girl understood it all, but feared. The eyes were filled with tears. She confessed. It is difficult for her to believe in herself. Ravel was not self-confident. But he always sought for the goal and believed, effort is more important than talents. So Ira had to be careful with her desires, not to give up, even when everything is against you. After all, her father always believed in her strength. Meanwhile, Lizzie noticed the intended agitated agitao. He confessed. He still analyzes his defeat to prevent it again. The cunning Lizzie reminded him of the defeat. Again, he barely held back his emotions, recognizing he did not cope with Ravel. Lizzie explained. Savile was well prepared, studied the style of the agito, and thanks to his talent and diligence, angry, he swore that he never loses again, and would make every effort to become stronger. Lizzie understood that sometimes the defeat opens her eyes. After all, ordinary diligence sometimes turns into true power. It was the perseverance that was the basis for the development of Aravela. He reached incredible, and Lizzie believed, in the center of all events there is a dark magic that needs to be destroyed. And in the arena, Ira finally gathered with his forces. Tears dried up, anger turned his strength. She rushed to the attack. The audience was crazy. She was skillfully evaded, attacked, moving rapidly. The voltage reached the peak. She pushed the opponent, got the guns and started shooting magic bullets. The Kana was chosen by the screams, and Borzo was proud of her daughter. The bullets flew quickly, but Ravel shook them skillfully. Ira kept at a distance using a known tactic. It was this tactic that victory brought her in the first duel. But now Ravel knew how to act. And though the fear woke up again, the thinker did not stop. She decided to surprise the opponent, a sudden shot. Savile managed to dodge at the last moment, but the unexpected happened. Ira suddenly felt acute pain. The presenter suggested that it was influenced by powerful magic. Her vital forces declined sharply. Kana continued to comment on each movement and announced, "Savile is approaching. Another step to another victory." As Swello approached, Ira raised her hand sharply and pressed on the hook. It seemed that she was weak in order to see the opponent. It really was a trick. She pretended to be exhausted to capture Ravel by surprise. And now she got a chance to strike. The guy believed, because during the training, Ira was often unconscious. But this time, she seemed confident. And now she was in the perfect position. But when her finger pressed on the hook, nothing happened. Ira was surprised. It was a familiar sound. She remembered where she heard. At the same moment he understood. Savile again applied alchemy and changed pistols so that they lost their magical power. But she was ready to fight and naked. But Ravel was the first. A rapid blow to the sword became a critical. The audience exploded, and Ira realized that there was no chance to win. Despite the defeat, the girl promised that next time he would become stronger. Savile was satisfied with the battle and promised to wait for the revenge. They shook their hands, and the presenter Kana announced, the fight between participants from one guild was completed. Victory for Ravel. However, Mr. Colt was not happy. He was annoyed that Ravel reached this level, and also gained the respect of the girls. He considered all these friendly connections a nonsense, which prevents the achievement of a single goal: strength and glory. Once a maid found a book about Father Colt's fighting skills in Smith, but the guy just shrugged. He remembered everything. The maid was indignant. Books cannot be thrown away. But at the same time, she advised him to talk less and practice magic more. Kana, meanwhile, announced the final round. Those whom no one was waiting in the final met. The crowd was madly glad. The audience chanted, and the presenter urged not to miss the most important match of this tournament. In the finale, a sage of Colt and a favorite of the crowd, a relentless newcomer Savile, whose strength is labor and endurance. Colt noticed that Ravella has no weapon. But he was confident in himself. This time he fought for one purpose: to prove who is stronger. Ravel stated that he wants to become the strongest in the world, and in order to achieve this, it must defeat the sage. He trained for a long time and hard. Kana suggested that Ravel was about to beat exclusively with magic. This promises a spectacular battle, but Colt laughed. He was not going to give up. He was pleased with the rival's self-confidence. But at the same time, he praised Ravella, at least for enthusiasm. Colt did not delay. He immediately used a fiery arrow, directing the spell directly into the Rall. But the guy evaded and tried to neutralize the magical attack. He did not allow critical damage. Kana exclaimed, "The flame disappeared. How is so?" And Colt already understood. Rall used the magic of the wind to dispel the flow of fire. Although Colt recognized him as a capable magician, he called Rall a pathetic man. But he was not provoked. Colt tried to convince, the goal of Rall is meaningless, like to protect someone, stupidity. But if you combine their knowledge, you can achieve everything. But Rall was not going to betray her dreams. Friends and goals are not junk, but his path to power. This answers did not satisfy Colt. He swore no longer wasting time on vain people, as if Ira or others from the guild. That is why Colt wanted to win. To prove Rall that he was wrong and his path leads to nowhere. The great sage struck a sudden blow, but Rall escaped him, jumping sideways. It only laughed at the arrogant Colt. The battle was gaining momentum. All in the audience were waiting for a turning point. But despite the frantic pace, no one had an advantage. Kana has been stunned. This is no longer the battle of beginners. This level of magic can only be experienced by experienced adventure veterans. With every minute, Savell felt more and more. The forces were falling, and the enemy still created incredibly powerful spells. The Colt Sage had virtually endless magical energy and attacked without strategy, without sparing strength. But Savell was not going to give up. Anger boiled inside. He remembered how they argued with Colt about magic and what really had power. Colt always advised what to study and what to ignore. Particularly despised mental magic, which, as Rall's experience proved, is able to control even the strongest. But it is dangerous to use it in open combat. The enemy will be alert, and magic will lose efficiency. They talked a lot about magic, but it was clear. The ways of their development are radically different. Colt believed that it was only necessary to delve into ancient spells. And Rall wanted to master all the types of magic. He sought strength, not limited to narrow specialization. According to Colt, it was a waste of time. He believed that it was better to focus only on powerful spells and magical energy. He advised to reject extra and plunge into the true depth of magic. But Rall remained true to his beliefs and acted focused. Watching the column, he noticed that he did not come from magic. He may have learned to hide her, thanks to his wisdom and experience. But Rall did not think of defeat. He wanted to win. And Colt, on the contrary, continued to attack and claim that Rall could have mastered any magic. And Colt changed tactics. He created a shining sphere and prepared a new magical attack. The magic struck Rall. He felt a flurry of energy from all sides as if he had fallen into a magical storm. The pain was unbearable. Rall fell on his knees. Colt enjoyed his advantage. Boz was upset. He did not expect such a result, although he recognized the power of Colt. Lar confessed that she has never seen the sage so cruel. But Rall, despite the pain, withstood the blow. He looked in his eyes and stated that he was still ready to fight. Colt replied indifferently. He used an ancient spell and a magic stone to strike a decisive blow. Rall is worth saying goodbye to hope. The sage focused on a giant stock of magical power. He was only interested in one thing, whether Savell would withstand such a powerful blow. But Savell was ready. He asked not to restrain himself, because the whole crowd wanted to see what a great sage was capable of. Colt accepted the call. But as soon as he was attacked, a magical circle appeared in the arena. It was a trap of a Ravela, which he painted while maneuvering. A cunning maneuver. Savell repeated the magic of Colt, reinforced several times. The magical circle was activated simply in the center of the arena. And a crazy vortex came up like a hurricane, which brought everything in his way. The air element became his answer. Even the audience was barely maintained. At this point, Savell remembered the common moments with Colt. While Rall spent time with his friends, Colt was hiding in books because he was afraid to become unnecessary and forgotten one day. These words then seemed ridiculous. He said, "The main thing is that Colt is concerned with magic, and therefore does not despise the true power of perseverance." His sincerity was struck by Colt. He blushed and confessed, finally realized the real Rall motifs. But at that moment, Rall fell. The forces of magic were exhausted. Colt thought he had won. But it was only a trick. It was a deception. Rall suddenly attacked. His words were forced to be surprised. It was the magic of illusions and psychology. Yes, Rall deceived it with a meager amount of magic, creating a convincing illusion. True power, in the skill of structure. And although the Colt rested a little, he finally admitted the defeat. Ravel, an ordinary guy from the guild, was able to defeat the great sage in an honest battle. The most striking moment was the proclamation of Ravel the winner of the tournament. The crowd is crazy, the presenter praises, and friends do not hold back pride. Borzo recalled that Ravela's father, Aiden, combined magic with his sword and reached the ideal. He believed Ravel would also be able to go this way. A few weeks passed, and the city lived again with a normal life. But Agito could still not be defeated. He was annoyed by the city noise, the bazaar bustle. Suddenly someone called him from behind. It was Lauren's merchant. She congratulated the renewed guild, but Agito immediately pointed out the mistakes on the ads. ENT thanked and promised to fix everything. Then she remembered, after the quest tournament, it became so much that you have never breathed. She told about people who came in arms, armor, and tasks. And the reason for all this excitement was one, newcomer's champion is a sage. Equally popular was the arrow with long ears, which took 5th place. But the annoyed Agito attacked a shout with a shout. It was at this point that Ira returned from another dangerous task, and immediately ordered the Agito to apologize for his unworthy behavior. Ira explained. He lost because he was self-confident and underestimated Ravel's talent. He thought that power was everything, but deeply mistaken. Agito did not restrain and push the girls, not wanting to hear more about his weakness. At this point, Guild entered Lizzie. While the quarrel lasted, everyone was fond of Colt. He was able to change the structure of magic and create a new class. Laura confessed that she would never have thought that a Colt could change so much. A man with a mustache, probably a nobleman, approached him, so it turned out. But Colt immediately made it clear. He did not appreciate the aristocrats. Though he may have been too biased, the nobleman was not offended, but instead hugged a young sage and promised him a faithful friendship. He was ready to spend any money on training. Lara was interested in watching. Colt seemed to have the talent to attract useful people who could learn a lot of important. Meanwhile, Agito mentioned the abilities of Lizzie. She seemed to be sampling, but she never listened to criticism, because she has already become an adventurer of Arakid class. Lizzie said that Agito was training carefully, not to lose again. Then she wondered where Ravel is now. Lara told, Ravel is exhausting without rest. His goal is to master the perfect possession of the sword. Every day he simulated battles, struck on the fixed stone, but every blow was only painful. There was no progress. And even with all efforts, he could not leave scratches. Borzo asked whether Ravel remembers what that stone was made of. It turned out, it is an aura hulk, a mythical material of extraordinary hardness. It is difficult to cultivate, but Ravel's father once cut him. Borzo praised Ravel's ability to analyze enemies and use their weaknesses. He had a unique talent for tactics. But how many enemies will be? How to defend and attack at the same time? Need a technique that destroys everything in its path. And it exists, the irresistible section technique. If Ravel captures it, it will be able to become the strongest in the world. The concentration and talent moved it forward. The body became stronger than magic. But a lot of incomprehensible remained, and Ravel knew maximum focus was needed. Every wrong blow was accompanied by pain and loss of energy. Still, Ravel could not understand how his father succeeded without magic. But every time he failed, he became even decisive, and he swore he will even open the aura hulk. At this point, a joyful Lara came to him. She wanted to report that she had received an increase, but just came. Ravella was gone. He disappeared without a trace, and the guy himself tried to understand. What happened? And where the hell is it? Did he find himself? Looking around, Ravel felt a powerful magical energy that stressed on all sides. And suddenly, he heard a gentle, charming female voice. Meanwhile, a group of girls fought with a terrible monster that could break everything in their way. The situation was critical. But in a moment, everything changed. Anna intervened in the battle, which rapidly attacked the monster. Her appearance was a surprise and gave hope. Thanks to the intervention of the Night Dragon Anna and the teamwork, the girls were able to defeat the monster. They hoped to get high scores. Everyone rejoiced except Anna. It remained focused. It felt something wrong, as if the danger had not yet passed. Other girls calmed down, they say. There are no monsters on the territory of the academy. Everyone wanted to go to the gym as soon as possible, but the peace quickly replaced with horror. Something enormous and dangerous was approaching, and it was nothing but a monkor. A huge monster with red mane, lion head, and 3 rings on the tail. Its thirst for hunting was called obsession. Due to the deadly threat that Monteor carried, he was brought to the highest rank of S. Luna decided to flee. The chances of victory were scanty, but her escape was only angered by Manticore. He felt her movements, and immediately started hunting. The monster attacked. Fortunately, there were no dead, but no one felt safe. The girls, including Anna, were frightened and understood. We need to run. But Anna herself had a different plan. She wanted to distract the monster, and ordered her friends to flee. She was confident in her abilities and sought the teachers to notice her. The moon was categorically opposed. Anna was about to fight the most dangerous monster. But Anna has already started to prepare. The moon was afraid of a girlfriend because few could resist Manticore. But Anna, despite his good fortune, felt a real warrior. She knew who she was dealing with, and hoped to stay a little to give a chance to escape. Although Anna was shy in her soul, she could not hit the dirt in front of the academy and friends. At that moment, she mentioned a Ravella, the second childhood, which she had to see after 3 years of separation. But fear grabbed her heart. She was afraid that she would not be able to fulfill his promise. She asked for forgiveness in her soul. And suddenly, Ravel appeared nearby. Anna could not believe. The guy said not to worry, he was here to protect her. She forgot about the monster and wanted to talk. But Ravel firmly asked to wait. Now he had to fulfill his promise. Focusing, he first looked into the eyes of the monster of this level. There could be no mistake. Anna under his protection. It was a long, awaited meeting of two friends who dreamed of going together again. But first, survive. Ravel was determined. He promised Anna. He will stand until his last breath because this is the meaning of his life. Once a young man met the goddess in the likeness of a beautiful woman. Her appearance did not surprise him. Colt had already warned of this. The longer he looked at her, the more he understood. In front of him a real divine creature, capable of changing his fate. The goddess broke silence and asked to listen. She had an important message for him. She was still smiling and said that Anna is now threatening a deadly danger. He needs to intervene immediately. The goddess herself did not know how it happened that such a monster appeared on the territory of the elite academy. She appreciated Ravel's courage, so she offered to teleport him to the monster. The guy asked why she wanted to help. The goddess replied, "She has a personal interest." The goddess confessed that she was indifferent to the inhabitants of this world, though she should keep the balance. But instead of explanations, she went to actions. She reported that time to go, and advised Ravel to defeat this horror, because he has not yet encountered Manticore. And here, the young hero found himself before the monster, ready for the battle not for life, but on the power of spirit. But all his blows did not harm. Manticore's body had no scratch. Obviously, a different approach is needed against physical attacks. Anna watched the fight with horror, astonished by how skilled a friend used magic. But even magical fiery balls were powerless. Ravel, feeling the threat, asked Anna to leave. It was difficult for him to defend her and fight it at the same time. A little dragon Kue came to the rescue, who agreed to take away Anna. Where he came from, it was no longer important. Now Ravel stayed in front of a terrible monster. Upon learning that Anna was safe, he was ready to put it on. But the mantle was struck. The poison immediately paralyzed the body. The movements became slow. It was necessary to activate magic immediately. Despite the poisoning, he continued the battle. It was difficult, but it is impossible to retreat. Meanwhile, Anna, contrary to the order, turned back. She knew, if she did not help Ravel, he would die. Surprisingly, she understood the language of the dragon, though they saw only a few minutes. Q felt a connection with her. It seemed as if they were familiar for a long time. But now it is not the time to think. It is necessary to save a Ravella. Anna did not understand how he was in such a danger. Ku just executed the owner's order, to take it to a safe place. The dragon confessed. It is also difficult for him to look at this battle, but the order is an order. So he asked Anna to take advantage of the power of the night dragon. She understood. There is no other way out. It is time to reveal your potential and save your loved one. At this time, Ravel desperately reflected the attacks of the monster, strengthening the blows of magic and trying to control the body's resources. But the pain in the left hand has just grown. The hand is almost paralyzed, but the magic was accumulated there. This is what Borzo spoke about. Saville decided, if you give poison to spread, it may be able to activate the unwavering blade, although it is extremely dangerous. He hesitated. The risk of life or try to deceive Manticore, pretending to be exhausted and hit by surprise. But the monster did not stop for a moment. Attacks did not even give a second for a break. Suddenly, the mantle stopped the attack. Something distracted his attention. Ravel finally received a few moments of rest. A giant dragon emerged from the sky, much larger than Manticore and more dangerous in appearance. Ravel immediately recognized his pet, who grew up in a wonderful way to a giant size. He ordered him to use fiery breathing. The guy could not believe that his little dragon turned into a true monster, even under the control of Anna. But it was unclear whether it would help Ravel to activate invincible equipment. Anna supported him. Belief in herself. Even in the face of the giant, the mantle was not going to give up, but Ravel had already felt the power of friends and focused all the magic. The poison was spreading, but he tried to control it, waiting for the right moment to activate the unwavering blade. Thanks to his friends, he won a little time. And here, Ravel rushes into the attack, magnifying the sword with a blue glow. The first blow missed, and the manor tried to counter the tail. But Ravel changed his position on time. But the next Ravel stroke was crucial. The unbreakable blade cut the neck of a giant monster. It struck his friends, and Ravella himself was overwhelmed by the sense of power. Now he is definitely worthy of the title of the most working in the world. After winning the monster and gaining the skill of the unbreakable blade, the guy was ready for new missions. He sought new accomplishments. But as soon as Manticore was defeated, Ravel was teleported back, without even saying the words of his beloved. It was at the same time the most intrusive and sad thing. The struggle ended. Borzo helped to recover, and Savell took a few days of rest. Thanks to magic, he managed to neutralize the poison, clean the body, but the left hand remained paralyzed. It took time. Meanwhile, Anna became famous thanks to the battle with a manticora. By saving friends, she became the heroine of the Academy of Heroes. Soon, a charming girl, Alina, a new guild administrator, came to Ravella. She wanted to cooperate, and she brought a letter. The guy was surprised. The message appeared from the United Federation Guild, a powerful organization. He accepted the invitation and arrived in the main castle, where he was honored as an expensive guest and invited to an audience. But heading to the hall, Ravella attacked giant ice statues, knights and monsters. This is exactly not what he was waiting for. He was ready for battle, though he did not understand the cause of the attack. But thanks to fiery magic, Savell destroyed the statues, turning them into ordinary water. Levis appeared, the leader of the Federation, and praised the boy for his incredible power. The Academy clearly lost the chance of having such a hero. He then invited Ravella to lunch. The juicy wild boar meat was the most delicious that he had ever tasted. Levis explained that the meat is kept for 20 days in heat to form mushrooms. They give tenderness and aroma. Although it sounds strange, careful treatment removes the risks. Some gourmets enjoy the taste. But Ravel finally asked why he was really invited, and he heard, they want to give access to Alita County. The reason? He defeated the Sage, the Great Swordsman, and the Manticora. The study showed that the poison in his body belonged to the same Mancore. Levis did not know how Ravel was in that place, and Anna, why she hid the details. But the Elite Academy value only the result. Ravel was happy because he dreamed of joining this academy. But there was one condition. To get an official invitation, he had a year to become an adventurer. It upset him. Even ago, Levis called him the most worthy candidate. But the cunning Levis explained, so he will prove to everyone that is worthy. And the real hero is hardened by complex missions. To achieve S rank, sometimes it takes years. It all depends on the level of tasks completed. Ravel realized that next year will be hellish. He thanked for the treat and returned to the guild. Levis was satisfied. In the rave, he saw a reflection of his own youth, and the guy plunged into difficult missions and continuous workouts. But over time he felt he lacks new skills. The most useful was the ability to create spatial equipment. Although it was difficult to study this scalp, Ravel coped. Now he could store things without restrictions in time and space. Lara was delighted and even envied a little. If she had such a skill, her trade would have taken off to heaven. She asked to teach her. Ravel explained that it is difficult to achieve this effect, but perseverance always produces results. Ruar became fascinated and wanted to repeat the process. Together with the sage, they trained even in a dream. An hour of such a dream replaced 8 hours of rest. Constant jogs and training were fruit. Ravel became so fast that the usual eye did not have time for it. Yura taught this method. Administrator Leon, or Amin, always chose the most dangerous quests for him, which Saville performed lightning, returning to the new ones. In the end, Alina said she could no longer give him a task, even simple, because the guild will empty. Ravel insisted on new missions. It came to the dispute, because he was ready to increase rank. But it was necessary to wait another month. Without giving up, he pleaded to give him new challenges to become the highest rank as soon as possible. Alina promised him a test quest before raising. At this point, Lara suggested a special mission for a whole month. She predicted that Ravel would seek an increase. The task was to get the horns of Minotaur on the 20th floor of the Frassaparas dungeon. This required incredible effort. Saville was delighted, thanked for this opportunity, and promised to gain an increase. Hugging Laura, he was happy. But the girl asked to read carefully the conditions of the mission. It turned out that the rank of rank B first should assemble a team of 2 more participants. Ira was the first to join. She always wanted to be near Ravel. The guy thanked her for the determination and considered her strength very useful. Ira believed that they would cope, although only reached the 5th floor of the dungeon. She trained on every opportunity. Saville inspired her, and together they trained to the exhaustion. But they were happy because they became stronger. In fact, Ira trained only once a week, but my father did not talk about it. He understood everything, though he was silent. The third in the team was the Sage of Cult. Ravel was surprised that he immediately agreed. He wanted to test new magical technique. The cult said that he seeks to explore the potential of new abilities. Ravel agreed with enthusiasm. The sage proposed to conduct a study after the mission, and Saville accepted these conditions. The guy also wanted to go with friends on the road. He was grateful to his little dragon Q, but he doubted his transformation. Ravel thought Q had to keep her apart, but he was able to teleport and help in the battle with Manticore. As he became a giant dragon, remained a mystery. The cult advised not to ignore the pet. Many dragon researchers have never seen a creature similar to Q. It was said that the Mechanical Guild wanted to capture Q, but he was able to escape and hides many secrets. In the end, Ravel decided to bring his pet with him to a mission. Q is like a child, and promised to be the most useful in the world. The next day, the United team went to the Frappera dungeon. Guild escorted them with best wishes. They got the main goal of the maze, where they first had to register. Ira suggested approaching with her because she was here. But suddenly, Agito and Lizzie appeared. Ancient acquaintances, and everyone was surprised. The Agito was still angry with Ravella because of the defeat at the tournament, but now both competed for raising the rank. And Agito also got this task. Saville was a little disappointed, learning that he was not the only contender, but was ready for the competition. Meanwhile, Lizzie explained the structure of the dungeon. She noted that the lower the level, the stronger the monsters, but the bosses can appear on the upper floors. The Minotaur is on the 4th. After the emergence of the Minotaur, the Federation was taken under control. Due to the threat to rank adventurers, most guilds avoid such tasks. Ravel realized that he received a special permission. Lena confessed that the official application would take a month, so she again turned her cunning. They began to form a turn to the entrance to the maze, which caused disputes. Lizzie and Agito immediately joined her. Ravel reminded of his special leisure that he allowed to pass without registration, but Agito was not going to concede. The cult advised not to worry and still register, and Ravella was outraged that the safe zone was already occupied. He finally got to control. There was a conversation between the participants. Everyone shared their purpose. Ravel with a smile announced that his team was ready for entrance. Many adventurers either went inside or returned. It was a loud, continuous flow. The cult emphasized, "Caution is above all." Ravella surprised so many people who wanted to go through the maze. Ira explained that the first 10 floors have no traps, so you can move quickly. To get ahead of the opponents, the team used magic to increase running speed and went forward. Soon they were on the 11th floor, everyone prepared, because strong monsters had to appear. But suddenly a calm atmosphere broke a magical attack. A huge stone fell nearby, miraculously touched anyone. The sage cult decided to intervene and release the fiery magic of incredible power, hoping for victory. But the stone enemy absorbed magic and repelled it. All were stunned by such force. But after all, the power of the spell still destroyed the enemy. Snail and the rest decided to be more careful. Further advancement required the destruction of each enemy. But the coordinated work of the team allowed to overcome the most dangerous situations. Meanwhile, Agito with Lizzie also broke forward. The girl tried to help, but it only annoyed the partner. Lizzie advised him to master new techniques and weapons for a better reaction. But Agito stubbornly wanted to surpass only Aravella. They got a quiet area where even heartbeat was heard. It may have been a prologue to a special area. While Agito with Lizzie was in silence, Ravel's team had already reached the 18th floor. Everything went well, though the cult began to worry. And suddenly she made a fatal mistake. She came on a trap. She could die at any time. But the sage managed to save her using alchemy. He confessed that he carefully studied the new opportunities after getting acquainted with Ravel. He explained that modern magic is easier to capture than ancient. so Ravel is a unique carrier of knowledge. But such uniqueness can frighten others. People are afraid of the unknown, and Snail is not at all like other mascot owners. Gifted people, the support of the nation, they are formed as systems as the Academy of Heroes. But there is discrimination. The weak is considered worthless. The cult thought for a long time. Perhaps even those who give talents do not fully understand their nature. The team, meanwhile, reached the 19th floor, where the level of complexity has grown significantly. Both teams met here. Ajito warned about a crowd of angry monsters. It was necessary to concentrate. No one understood why so many monsters. Nothing like this happened. Lizzie advised to focus on battle. This phenomenon was called Monsthouse, the mass appearance of enemies in front of a special labyrinth zone. Saville decided that if they can break through, they would reach the 20th floor, where they will be expected by the Minotaur. Ravel sought to get ahead of the Ajito, because a deadly trap could occur between them. He had a plan, but the sage advised not to share it in Rome. Suddenly, Ravel decided to restrain all the monsters and the whole level on his own, leaving his friends a battle with a Minotaur. He promised that he would not allow the breakthrough of monsters in the special zone. As 3 soldiers fought with the boss, he just had to win a little time. The cult denied. The mission is in danger, and there was almost no time left of the Federation. But Ravel was sure that he would find another way to raise the rank. Lizzie decided to stay with him and help. It is easier to handle, and 3 others were enough to win the boss. The Ajito did not delight. Now Ravel seemed to have done him a favor. But he agreed to implement the plan and destroy the monster as soon as possible. The rest had to hurry until Ravel and Lizzie were exhausted in the battle with an endless crowd of monsters. If survived, they will become legends. Ira and Ajito quietly reached the 20th floor, quickly found a Minotaur, and attacked until friends kept defense from the rear. But suddenly they saw the wounded manager of the Federation. He warned to run immediately. This Minotaurus is much stronger than it seems. The bleeding leader shouted that even the soldiers of the rank and did not stand. The monster exceeded all expectations. Meanwhile, Ravel and Lizzie continued to thin out the monsters, but the wave of enemies did not weaken. It seemed that it would never end. All adventurers were in a deadly trap, not knowing how to get out. And while the characters fought in the maze, the cheerful aristocrats drank wine with the supreme priest, which preferred clean water. As it turned out, they were familiar since childhood and could communicate without formalities. But in this world, the main role was played not by titles, but talents, divine gifts, which determined the fate of everyone. In the labyrinth, the battle lasted for hours, but no one knew when it would end. The cult tried to break through the Minotaur, but unsuccessfully. He was able to attack him with a powerful winding, but it only slightly stunned the monster. The Minotaur had his own magic. He absorbed someone else's energy and was treated. If they do not find a way out, everyone will die. Meanwhile, Lizzie and Ravel were fighting without rest, but the monsters were not less. Ravel was more effective, again showed the power of his unbreakable sword. Lizzie asked how he reached this level. The answer was simple, thanks to perseverance. But he noticed the strange behavior of his dragon. A panic began in Q. Something dark pierced his body. The baby fled to the side, ordered not to approach, and instantly turned on a solid darkness. It seems that he was swept by a powerful evil magic that Saville has never seen before. The teams in the meantime continued to fight heroically with the Ministry Oris, but no attack caused him harm. Ira just tried to win time. Cult and Ajito were striking the skill of Yura, which was moving lightning and protected by a magical shield, the result of training with a Ravel. But no one knew how to stop the monster. The cult has decided that it should be deprived of its ability to regenerate, but it required the victim. The sage endowed the Ajito aura, explaining that only a tricky fire can break through the protection of the monster. The cult himself was surprised by his actions. He considered himself as selfish, but now created a unique spell, conveying power to another. Now Ajito had to strike. In the meantime, Ravel and Lizzie tried to understand what happened to Ku. He turned into a huge monster and destroyed everything around. Now it was too dangerous. Lizzie decided to take advantage of the moment and destroy the dragon until it is too late. Ravel stood up for his pet, even when Lizzie believed that they were no longer a cute dragon, but a dangerous monster. But for Ravel, Ku was not just a beast, but a friend and part of the family. His words touched the dragon. Something changed in it. The giant body shuddered in agony, and in a few minutes Ku was able to overcome the rage and again became small and calm. But this time, Ravel himself was full of fury. Anyone who tries to approach a friend was at risk of being destroyed. With the fire in his heart, Savell cut his way through the hordes of the monsters, and his rage only reinforced power. Meanwhile, Ajito, enhanced by the sage's fiery magic, rushed into battle without being far behind his opponent. Despite his character, he remained a brave adventurer and rushed to the Minotaur without fear. Ira fired continuously from the pistols, directing magical balls exactly at the target even from a long distance. And Savell moved to a new level, turned into a real berserker who destroyed everything around. Ira, Cult, and Ajito felt relieved. Their plan worked, and the danger on the part of the Minotaur disappeared. The floor was silence in the maze. Lizzie watched the Ravel, who had just destroyed all the monsters but was confused. Everything that happened was too impressed by the guy. He did not hold back tears, looking at his friend Dragon. Meanwhile, the Supreme Priest spoke with an ancient friend, remembering that some believe talents weaken the spirit of man. People with strong talents began to lose their physical shape, because the monsters in the main paths diminished, and the threat disappeared. But beyond civilization, there were rumors about new terrible creatures that can attack at any moment, so you should not relax. Hai did not want to continue to talk. She believed in the facts, and realized that there were things that did not change. At this point, the door was slowly opened to the room. A dark, unfamiliar hand appeared. The mysterious figure returned to the divine monastery. Nothing changed here, and the goddess gladly welcomed him. The guest no longer seemed lost. The guest called the determination the source of his success, laughed loudly, embarrassing the gods. At the time, many adventurers suddenly lost their ability to magic. Suddenly, Lara flew into the room with a loud cry and ran to the bed where he slept. The cult called it stupidity even for Lara, but it answered sharply. A few days after the mission, and the dragon still has not come to mind. Although the experienced veterinarian did not find anything critical, the state of Ku remained anxious. Bozon believed that the reason in monsters from the maze. On that day, they really escaped from the dungeons. Everyone was ready for attack, but this appearance was completely unexpected. Lara then helped the people. The losses were small due to the intervention of the adventurer of the rank of Ashida, who accidentally found himself. Ravel thought that he may have taken some curse or illness, but he himself expressed a desire to go into a mission, and did not want to stay in the cave. Friends still tried to understand what to do with Quay when the administrator Alina was included in the room. It looked tense. As a question, Ravella answered that there was an urgent task, without restrictions on the number of participants. Not far from the kingdom theory, the city of Raaro was siege of monsters. They need to be destroyed, and the region is released. Ira and Lara were immediately interested in participation in a dangerous mission, although they were aware of the scale of the threat. Ajito and Lizzie also did not stay away. He wanted to dive into the maelstrom of events and find out who organized the attack on the city. Lizzie asked Ajito if she was ready to participate again in dangerous missions. He only nodded self-confidently. He dreamed of getting the horns of Minotaur and raising the level, but at heart, he still kept the image on Ravel and sought to prove that he could complete any task without assistance. He forced Lizzie to be less serious, emphasizing that the rank increase missions are gone. The entrance to the maze is closed, and each would throw an eye to a new business. Among those who want to be sure to be a sage, because he wants to join the elite academy to be near his beloved girl. At this time, Anna continued her studies at the academy, making every effort to become the best and the strongest among all students. The teachers considered it very capable. She had already protected her friends and defeated the monk. There is a decisive battle in the city, where the dragon can appear. It was approached by Captain Jesk, always cheerful, and as always asked to call him just by his name, without unnecessary titles. He wondered if Anna was now a real veteran, because she had to go beyond the academy for the first time to fulfill the mission. Anna confessed that she was a little afraid, but despite the excitement, the girl was confident in herself, because she felt a support for her important person and was not going to retreat. Jesk rejoiced in her mood because he knew a loved girl was capable of everything. But in a moment, he was called for an urgent meeting, which he completely forgot. Meanwhile, Colton and Ravel discussed the strange conditions of the new mission. After completing it was necessary to meet with some friend, which caused surprise. The cult called this noisy aristocratic munning, but he acknowledged it has something attractive that attracts attention. Sometimes Colt dreamed of being like him, but he knew his path is completely different. Ravel guessed these sad thoughts, but did not touch the topic. And the sage, meanwhile, said that all these chats are nonsense, because it is more important to destroy monsters and not forget about the safety of their hometown. The border city of Raaro was quite large, but for the first time faced such a large-scale invasion, the war came here. Ajito and Ira were amazed by the number of monsters, even more than on the 19th floor of the maze. The girl was afraid, but did not retreat. She decided to stand to the end because all her friends were risked by her life, and it was not time to mention fears or old stories. Everyone was fond of the courage of the tiny Ira, but for her it was a common thing. She has repeatedly proved her power in battle. The head of the Guild Federation, Levis, arrived in the city. His arrival caused excitement because no one saw him here before. It was once a resort town where the royal family planned to spend a honeymoon. But during wars, it became an important base. Now, destroyed by the naval monsters, the city needed immediate help, and Levis called for immediate battle, promised a generous reward for it. He promised to show all his combat skills, which was not inferior to any elite warrior. And this day was to become a day of courage. His words were inspired not only by adventurers, but also by residents of the city who were ready to fight for glory, peace, and future. The first on the way became angry manticores. One of the brave fighters rushed to restrain them alone. He wanted to become a hero. Snail recognized the guy's courage but called for caution. Such courage can cost life. He immediately came to the rescue. His corporate blow with a blade did not leave the monsters of any chance, impressing all the witnesses. Anna heard that someone had destroyed a whole flock, and from the description she was clear. It was a sage, her most expensive friend. Without holding back emotions, the girl rushed to Captain Jonah to find out where he was. She had to find him. After sitting on the dragon, Anna immediately went into battle. The captain only smiled and praised her for determination. Other students of the academy, inspired by Anna's example, also joined the battle. Captain Jesk did not hide his joy. He loved the spectacular beginning. Rall, along with other adventurers, fearlessly fought the monsters, leaving no one without attention. The best students of the elite academy rushed to the enemy. It happened exactly what their hearts dreamed of. Ravel and Anna, defending each other, felt strong even in the face of death. Along the shadow, a dark figure was observed in the shadow, which decided to start a magical war. After the defeat of the Millennials, this time he intended to win. This sinister enemy was seriously tuned. He sought revenge during the years of humiliation and oblivion that the world has caused him. It was strange that the Dark Ruler knew Ravella well and already considered how to destroy the carrier of the talent of diligence. The battle reached the climax. Ravel, next to Anna, fought with special passion. Ira and Colt also did everything to curb the threat. Suddenly, everyone froze. A Hydra S-Rang appeared, a giant monster who was horrified by his appearance. Ira warned Ajito to be careful. Hydra attacks caused terrible losses. Even the bravers died under its pressure, notwithstanding her magical rage. It was at this moment that the cult broke into battle, splashing a powerful fiery magic on the field, burning monsters and weakening their protective barriers. He called for a calm and confident. He urged the battle to end the battle as soon as possible and take care of the wounded comrades. But here the fog came out a figure without a head that went to the cult, reminding him of that cheerful aristocrat. Colt was angry. To give up now that their task is to clean the city, he was not going, even in the face of death. But in addition to land creatures appeared flying monsters. Savile understood. The enemy will not get in the air. At that moment, Anna showed herself. On the back of a hand dragon, she instantly attacked the target in the sky. Ravel watched proudly. At the same time, he felt a strange magical flow and guessed, by the invasion of someone who controls her from the ground. Ravel used auxiliary magic, dispersed and decided to find a source of invasion, change the course of battle. Once on the roof of a tall building, he saw a silhouette that emitted dark energy. This was the organizer of the attack, but the enemy was not going to give up. He stated that the current invasion was just a reminder of the ancient war of monsters. His pets will now be stuck chaos, and no one will stop them. Ravel did not listen. He immediately rushed. But his blade stopped at the invisible barrier. He hit all his strength, but heard only a crash of a blow. From the powerful reverse impulse of Ravella rejected tens of meters. Black energy was only intensified. But the young man did not give up. Without weapons, he threw a fragment of the blade directly from the enemy, trying to break the course of events. With only one movement, the Dark Ruler stopped him and seized Ravella in his power. He said that the guy is the owner of a wonderful talent, and now he should know the truth about the Great War of Monks. Without waiting for the answer, Ravel felt the knowledge of the war pouring into him. The gods gave people talents to resist monsters. The ominous organizer of the attack enjoyed this spectacle, trying to understand the true strength of Ravel. Then he decided to share his ancient history, although the place to talk was far from safe. People need to understand only one thing. The end of the world is close. It's time to forget dreams and put up with doom. The dark monster said the spell of the strengthening and passed on to all the monsters, directing their movement. Instantly his magic reinforced the army of monsters, making the invasion even more scary than before. Dark magic covered all adventurers. They suddenly lost access to their talents, and now found themselves on the verge of complete destruction. The flow of anti-magia was only increasing. The monsters took the initiative. The Dark Owner has finally been able to release all the force accumulated in thousands of years. He abused Ravel that talents were a curse. Anna also lost control of her dragon at that moment, which began to rush in the air. She tried to restrain the chaos, but the forces were raised. Anna was ripped off the saddle, and she flew down rapidly from the height of several tens of meters. But at the last moment, Q saved the girl from a fatal fall. Anna gratefully hugged her defender. She asked how he managed to come to her senses, but Q just shook his head. Now not time to talk, and rushed. But he did not have time. They attacked another giant flying monster, even more aggressive than the previous ones. But this time Anna acted lightly. She flew close and struck a critical blow to the sword before returning to the back of Q. The dragon praised her for agility and suggested that he find Ravella together. The Q memory has changed. He remembered a lot, and now he had to pass the important thing as soon as possible, until the whole city was finally destroyed. Panic spread among adventurers. Without talents, they became defenseless before the pressure of the monster. But the cult quickly realized ancient magic is still working. Therefore, the impact of a dark enemy extends only to modern talents. He did not lose vigilance. Even in such conditions, he was about to give the enemy a decent repel. Meanwhile, Agido and Ira were hiding from the next monster. Ira recognized, without talent, her pistols are powerless. Agido boiled from rage and helpless, not knowing how to get out of the trap. And at this time, Q flew over the city in search of the owner. Finally, he saw a Ravella, tight with a black spell. The dragon instantly roared and dumped a powerful flame. Anna also did not waste time. She rushed with his sword against the dark ruler, but her blow did not hurt him. Everyone understood. It will not be easy to win. The dark leader mocked Ravel, forcing him to realize his weakness. But Q was not going to remain silent. He swallowed the dark ruler immediately and freed the owner from the witch. He said, "Perseverance always brings fruits, and even in hopelessness it is impossible to give up." He still has a mission, to return one precious. It turned out that the dragon seeks to convey a sage from the past that will help him see the way to the future. But suddenly the dark ruler appeared again and stated that he had been waiting for this moment for years, and no one would hurt his plan. He was angry with Ravella. Not holding back the fierce, the young man struck a powerful blow to where the enemy's head should be. The blow was so strong that the monster flew to the side and got into the wall. It was the awakening of ancient magic, unvividated destruction. Snail did not stop. He continued to attack until the dark beast tried to understand what was happening. Once, in peacetime, his friend said, "Happen to everything responsibly. Every decision has consequences. The world has lost balance, and their main task is already completed." It was necessary to think about a new goal. Now they had to watch the world, to find among them the ones that are best suited for life. But this world was far from the ideal. It was strongly ruled by the weak, and there were many similar ones. However, one was special among all: human. Although people were reminiscent of the observer gods, their lives were short, but full of potential. It seemed that this unusual kind of living beings, people, would disappear in just a few hundred years. Watching them seemed futile, because all the divine creatures knew, it is easy to destroy the world. It is only necessary to disturb the nucleus, which is deep in the center where the source of life is concentrated. It was there that souls got there after death. Memories were worked out there, preparing for reincarnation. And even the gods had no right to interfere in this process. But observers were allowed to create new species creatures that could adapt to any conditions, and gradually turned into monsters. After completing his mission, Ravella's partner suggested returning. Everything was completed here. The world was left monsters, and 1,000 years have passed. But when observers visited the human world again, they were upset. People not only survived, but created a true civilization. All calculations were false. Humanity has not disappeared. It blossomed, and it was incredible. The monsters who became stronger after each reincarnation were now used by people as a resource to survive. Humanity has mastered magic, the power that was to lead the soul to the nucleus. But now the same magic has become their salvation. This puzzled the observers. People had no such knowledge. The wisdom of the world is the prerogative of only divine beings. Having studied the situation, they found that the level of wisdom of this world has grown in a wonderful way, although time was not enough to understand. After all, wisdom is the power of observers who contains knowledge of ecosystems. But now humanity has exceeded everything: magic, architecture, medicine, and observers no longer knew how to cope with this anomaly. Evolution does not stop, and Rall decided to explore everything on his own. Although the rule was one thing, not to interfere, curiosity forced him to appear in the city as an ordinary person. Despite the presence of a monster, the world looked developed and ordered. Rall was fond of people's ability to develop. The greatest surprise was caused by the girl who played with the monster. This was contrary to all the knowledge. The monsters had only to kill. Rall, having mastered human language, asked how she could be friends with such a creature. But the girl just apologized and asked not to offend the pet. She explained that the monster is annoying and even harming, but it's just a game. They eat, communicate, and spend time together. The girl hugged her friend and promised, "We'll do everything to make him a full member of her family." Rall was impressed with the child's words. This meeting with a carefree girl became a turning point for him. He remembered how she used to treat him with a jam, and admire how to eat it properly. The girl was happy near him and invented new stories every day, sharing them with a dragon and a weird guest. There was one who created everything in this world. He has developed a way of continuous creation of new worlds, and hundreds of trillions have emerged. But over time, these worlds began to collapse, and even the immortal deity felt void. His actions no longer made sense. The goddess very much wanted at least one world to remain stable, but it was impossible to watch everyone, so she created warders. Their mission is to find a life suitable for life. But if they were mistaken, there was no hope for forgiveness. Everything was recorded for the report to God. And in the end, the goddess learned about one wonderful world that continued to develop thanks to hard-working people. He was worthy of a great goal. But even now, the caretakers did not understand how it became possible. They themselves once inhabited this world with magical creatures. It turns out that they made mistakes at the beginning. But if so, the meaning of their existence is threatened. But this time, their verdict may be false. Even magical creatures have become part of the life cycle. And if there are no signs of destruction, the goddess can rejoice in revival. But even this did not compensate for the main thing. Savile and his partner made a false verdict, and now it is unclear whether they can remain observers of this world. But his partner only reminded that the observer is not entitled to a mistake. There should be no evidence, and disappeared, leaving Rall on the crossroads. Soon the world attacked the monster of unprecedented rage. No hunter was able to restrain him. The detachments fell one by one. Suddenly, a young man named Rall appeared, and he won the monster on his own, a blow that cut silence like lightning. But with this victory, he violated the main rule, the ban on observers to interfere, and as a consequence, he became part of this world. He was no longer a divine creature. Although the magical power remained, there was no immortality. The new body had age, pain, and death. But when the girl thanked him, sincerely from the heart, he realized it was worth it. Her father's gaze was also filled with gratitude. And then Rall realized, no longer you should run away from fate. His new calling is to protect this world. And very soon a new head, a magical war, began. Anna returned with the news. She felt a strong outbreak of magic. Although she did not like fighting, but only she could carry out air intelligence. Her faithful dragon Koi flew nearby. Their connection was strong, as if fate tied them in several lives. Suddenly, Rall gently touched her head, and the girl felt incredible. He called it a memory explosion. He wished her that she would fly with a dragon in his coming life, because he would receive the talent of a dragon rider. Anna was glad. Her face glowed with happiness, and Rall listened to her laughter and remembered how once, observers only watched. But he was always looking for the meaning of life. So the girl asked, why she lives. But she just shrugged. I never thought about it. Just live. And this simple answer forced Rall to laugh, and he suggested that it was time to end this horrific war. After all, he knew who was standing after her. But every attempt to put it was dangerous, and yet he got the goal. The enemy, though defeated, just smiled through the pain. You will change nothing. Rall tried to find out what happened to the magic of the goddess. It should have been enough to create monsters. But maybe the partner had another plan, because people are creatures that grow through mistakes. They need to lose to become stronger. And 1,000 years later, he said, they will be pleased with the divine help again. and Savla will die. And the war will start again. From the rage, Ravel squeezed his fists. But it did not change anything. Observers were mistaken once. The partner just laughed. You don't have talents. You are created only for observation. I have to judge. And gathering all his strength, he struck a magical blow to the girl. She could not protect herself. Ravella engulfed horror. He rushed to her, but vitality quickly faded from a young body. He cursed his indecision. But even now, in this critical moment, there was a way out. The girl, when extinguished, reminded him of everything she had said over the years, and what has not yet been said. Her voice trembled, and in the last words she called him the most beautiful man in the world. She became a little easier, and she closed her eyes. Snail, broken by pain, decided he would protect this world until the last breath. Even if you have to live again, it should be nearby. Ravel did not know what would happen after death. Perhaps the world will just disappear. But he decided, if it happens, you, Quay, have to do something important. After the Great Magical War, people won the gift from above. Talents. Every 12 years old received a unique ability. The years have passed. The war was forgotten, and the world plunged into peace. The children rejoiced, but there was one who did not laugh among them. The boy swore Igor was not interested in friends, only knowledge. But the children tried to talk to him, including one girl. She just appeared in the city, friendly, smiling. But Ravel, still a child, warned, "Don't come, I am a monster." She just smiled. "We're friends now." So Ravel met his Anna for the second time. And in the present world, they stood side by side in the battle, against the enemy who knew. Ravel conveyed everything: strength, memories, knowledge dragon. Many years have passed. Ku became Ravel's strength, and people, developing talents, built temples, cities, empires. But could they survive without talents? More than a century would have passed. Society has become unfair. The weak was despised. And after ages, a group of exiles from the royal capital found an ancient laboratory. That's where everything started to start again. Quay survived without remembering the main thing. But in a moment, the memories returned. He had to return what he kept for centuries. And the world was on the verge again. The dark monster announced the end. The talents are gone. People became powerless. But the sage is not. Only one person could regain power. And even without talents, he believed, magical monsters are not immortal. Ravel attacked. The power of his blow was a response. He would show how the monster is mistaken. Because the main fault of the enemy, he did not understand people. Considered them weak. Meanwhile, Levis thought about the ruins of his academy. Captain Izek, unlike Levis, did not give up. Together with the allies, he continued the struggle. Levis confessed that he did not believe that the day would come when the Knights of the Dragon would fall. And now even royal soldiers did not have a spirit for battle. But Isaac grabbed him by his hand. "Repeat it again, and you will betray everything that was. The leader has no right to despair." He reminded Levis of past exploits. The victories over the monsters. The Labyrinth's past. Warriors deserve respect. They are the guards of mankind. Levis asked in amazement if it is a praise during the years of dating. But these words returned to him faith. Levis inspired his own again. Even without talents, while you stand on your feet, you have to fight. Meanwhile, Hydra raged in the city. The adventurers drove her in a trap. The crucial moment has come. Powerful explosions destroyed the buildings, but also damaged the monster. And then Egido went on the offensive. He headed the detachment. He ordered the destruction of the Hydra, because there may not be a second chance. Everyone understood. There was a critical moment. And everyone fought from the last forces, hoping for salvation. But the Hydra released the magical membrane and escaped from the trap. She began to destroy everything around. Most escaped. But Edzido remained, to save the era. And then he realized, perhaps because of this, he lost that tournament. And the headless monster, meanwhile, broke resistance. People fought desperately, trying to free another street. The knights fought swords, adventurers, relied on the crumbs of magic. They sought to change the course. This battle. The cult of the wise men was able to find the secrets of ancient magic and convey it to others. He felt the state of everyone, even without words. The fiery magic, which he once destroyed the traps in the dungeon, was the pinnacle of his strength. But he did not stop finding new opportunities. In his lonely journey deep into the mysterious magic, the cult never thought of conveying power to others. He sought to master the magic of the ultimate himself. But the talent of the magic doll allowed us to use any spell as a source of energy. So he decided, It is time to give the strength to all who are fighting. And indeed, every adventurer got a new ability: fire, icy wind, storm, to destroy the evil that threatens the world together. The cult itself aimed exactly at the goal. He wanted to become those whom they remember as a lifeguard of mankind. But the headless enemy was not going to yield. He struck his hands and destroyed the stone bridge to the rest of the city. Tons of stones fell from heaven, forcing the detachment to retreat. But the cult was waiting for the moment to strike. Suddenly Laur appeared, the same merchant. She helped the wounded, and the cult did not understand why she was here. Laur checked how injured he was, and whether at least a little magical power was left. But the cult was rudely asked to leave. But the girl was not scared. She got a clean elixir and ordered a drink. His strength disappeared outside the inventory. For the cult it was a shock. A woman who hated magic learned to use a magic repository. She confessed it was difficult, and it was Ravel who gave her the impetus to learn. Her strength faded, but she was happy to see the cult is recovering. Meanwhile, the Dark Lord of the Monsters realized his plans to destroy people failed. The monsters were rejected. Ravel advised the enemy to admit that people are not so weak. Even after a lost war, they learn. People are able to see their mistakes and become stronger. It was a true evolution. Consciousness. And Ravel decided to prove everyone is unique. Their determination is their greatest power. Together, people can achieve everything, even the hardest. Therefore, those who can only destroy, so hate them. With each blow, Ravel spoke of his love for humanity. Dark said he had no chance of winning. He only had a crumb of the observer, and Ravel is no longer an observer. His immortal body disappeared. As soon as it appears, it will lose the opportunity to fight, and then the world will live again by the rules of talents, and people will understand how vulnerable they are. But Savel disagreed. The observer that interferes with life itself becomes part of it. He entrusted the power of Kaya, and became human. His power was revived in the body of the cult. He began to slowly remember everything he was capable of, but he did not use this force for himself. Even if you have to deviate from the path, it will not destroy this world. Because now he is part of it. These words forced the old friend to think. Although their fate is to fight to the end, but something has changed. While adventurers and knights fought under the leadership of the cult, Ravel suddenly felt familiar emotions. Before him was the goddess again. She smiled. The guy remembered everything that was important in her past life. Ravel realized his talent is not from the cult. He is the gift of the goddess. She confirmed it and then opened the truth to him. She made sure that Laur would find him in time, and she conveyed the observer's power. She also ordered the cult to promote Ravel, and then they will be able to meet again, though in a different form. When Anna was in a deadly danger, the reincarnation itself had to save her, or a Ravela, and Q had to regain power. And then the goddess said, Savel defeated the Manticora without anyone's help. This is not for everyone. Ravel asked to answer one last question. Why was a Ravel, an observer who violated the main rules and stuck in a life cycle, was able to master the most powerful magic? It was time to break away from the past. He had to move forward without looking back. The goddess reminded that the observer should be perfect, but among them was born unique, one who changed everything. This observer mixed humor, drama, and hope, which was why others considered it inferior. One even wanted to erase his existence. However, everyone had to understand. The world they watched originated precisely because of this imperfection. And he became one of his kind. Over time, the human world turned the divine expectations, becoming an interesting field for observation, knowledge, and fun. But now Ravel's power returned completely. He had to decide whether to stay here or become an observer again. Old Savile said that this world no longer needs his strength and a new one found true friends. But this will have to lose all power. The revived Savile had no doubt. Even without observation, it would become strong, thanks to perseverance. He has already gained the main knowledge from the memory of old Ravel, and sincerely thanked him for it. It was thanks to the fragment of the magic of Dragon Q that he was able to move these memories through time and strength. The goddess laughed, because it is with this fragment that the demon could return again, having one goal: to destroy humanity. But Ravel thanked for the memories and strength, reminding that the most dangerous place is the central core. Only selected came there. Despite its complexity, he was ready to complete the mission. People are hard-working creatures, and the second Savile again became an observer. The goddess gave them a new couple, and returned the soul of the one who died near the core. This imperfect observer got a chance for a new life. 2 years later, Lar learned that the army supply path could be reduced. But she was surprised by the letter from the sage. Everyone watched with delight how she unfolded a letter and read a message about the hero from the academy. But Lar remained a commercial and did not want to change the way. After all, even in this role could influence the heroes, and now she had to negotiate with the kings. At the Academy of Elite Heroes of Eiji Ito and others, they were amazed by grandeur and design. Even without talents, this place was maintained by magic. Despite the loss of abilities, people dreamed of going there. Agito advised not to doubt himself. After all, they were taught even talentless if they sought more. And most importantly, work in a team. You can do more than any hero of the past. When Eiji Ito asked who was the previous hero, it turned out that his name had disappeared in nothing. The cult advised not to look back. Meanwhile, cheerful Anna taught newcomers driving on dragons. After all, talent is not the main thing. The main thing is desire and effort. The most important thing is belief in yourself. Because dragons are afraid of people, so you should act with caution and sincerity to become a true friend of the beast. Captain Isaac, now the teacher, recalled that the Knights of the Red Dragon are destroyed, and only Anna can become the key to the battle with the Empire after the sea. There are always those who seek more in this country. Isaac thought about Anna's words, and acknowledged that she was right. And it was at this moment that Ravel appeared. Smiling, along with his beast, greeted the girl as if nothing had happened. He recalled the promises. 3 years ago they confessed to feelings and agreed to meet again. Anna remembered every word. She rushed into his arms. Her heart has heard recognition again. They can reach the main and be together.